15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Is it a triumph or is it an outrage? Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Bogish is in for Andrew Perloff, finishing out the week. And I'm not trying to get people upset on a Friday here. I just think everyone was feeling a certain type of way, Bogish, when you watched the Olympics yesterday, if you were watching. And Noah Lyles, who's one of our great Olympic athletes that we have in this country, won the gold medal by a nose hair in the men's 100-meter dash. Competing in the men's 200 yesterday, he takes bronze, and then we find out after the fact that he was competing with COVID. Now, the Olympics has a different type of procedure this year, different protocols, if you will, where it's really up to the athlete if they want to participate while they have COVID. Noah Lyles, quarantined himself to the best of his ability. He was wearing a mask around. He was doing all the things to be courteous to the other athletes, and he competed with COVID. And to me, I think where we are with COVID, thankfully, I'm going to knock on wood here, is that it's almost more like the flu now than it is the global pandemic that we all lived through. So I see this more as a triumph.
Yeah. So I'll say this, Maggie. It felt irresponsible to run yesterday in the immediacy of the announcement. I also did not know at that point what the Paris protocols were. And lo and behold, they're kind of orange protocols.
Right.
Like, you're not required to test. There's no quarantine requirement. Like, there's nothing. Like, you're sick, and when you feel better, you can come back and compete. And we saw him in the mask, and he said he was in a hotel, but he was still like in that little waiting room with other athletes, and he didn't tell them, hey, guys, give me my space, because one of his U.S. teammates said yesterday, I didn't know he was sick, and I don't care, but I didn't know. So it felt a little wrong-ish that he was still around everybody. But if I may, can I just give an oral history quickly of the emotions of our group chat from yesterday?
No.
So, because this was it was like 7 minutes altogether.
That was done in private, by the way.
I'm gonna just I will not directly quote anyone. I'm just gonna skim through the timeline. Okay. So it begins with me going, Noah in 5 minutes! Exclamation point. So give everybody a heads up to get near their peacock and get ready to watch this race.
Okay.
And then I
you
wrote,
can say whose it is.
Well, I wrote.
We'll just talk for EJ here. He gives his consent.
Maggie can't like this entrance because everybody else comes out and just waves and thanks for being here. And then this dude is shot out of a cannon after
Lyles,
his intros, and he's bouncing around. Apparently, he tomahawked a speaker and broke equipment, and he got a yellow card for that. I didn't know that was a thing in running. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, didn't learn your lesson. You won by a chest hair. Just walk out and take your spot. And then they run the race, and he doesn't win. And I'm thinking, my girl Margaret just got all sorts of vindication here, because not only did he not win, he came in third, and it looked like he was struggling to get to third. So I'm party time for Maggie. I mean, she's going to walk in 6 a.m. Eastern on a Friday. I told you track and field. Take that, Dion, making your track shoes jokes at me. And then Noah Lyles is sitting on the track, ripping off his running suit. There's medical personnel around him.
Yeah, something's wrong.
And so I got it. Maggie's.
So wait, maybe we should back up just for a second. For people who don't know why Bogish is bringing me into this, which I have nothing to do with any of the accomplishments of these fine athletes in Paris yesterday, I had shared an opinion that I thought that Noah Lyles really can't call himself the fastest man on planet Earth. You can't take that moniker, even though you won the 100 meter, you won by 5 1,000ths of a second. This was not blowing away the field. And I thought, maybe we pumped the brakes a little bit on I'm the greatest of all time when it was 5 1,000ths of a second. You guys hated that opinion. And by you guys, I mean
America,
parts of Canada. I'm sure. And so yesterday, somehow...
The contiguous 48 states.
Somehow, no, I think Alaska got pretty mad at it. But I think yesterday you thought somehow him coming up with the bronze meant vindication for me.
Yeah, because he's not that fast.
I texted and it didn't come through right away because I was in a place with no service. If this has been the last few minutes of my career, it's been a pleasure working with you all. Because
that was pre-race. That he was going to blow away the field.
Yeah, I thought if he wins the gold, I'm going to have to go in a hovel. I'll go to that darkness retreat and just never come out.
But as he's now sitting on the track in some kind of like distress, you say, I'm in a car, I got to get near a TV. So now I'm doing play-by-play of Noah Lyles' medical emergency. And it looked
worried for him.
Well, and it looked like he had an asthma attack. And, I think I knew that he had asthma when I typed that, but he was just breathing heavily, sitting down. Then he walked off, no big deal. And then you drop in with, and I stopped paying attention. And then you come in with he has COVID. And then
that's EJ, yeah.
And
that was me.
So like now we're all over the place. And I think, Maggie, when you do the math and you factor in running with COVID yesterday and winning the 100 meters probably with COVID in his system, he's the fastest man ever. So this is a huge loss for you this morning.
I feel like I took a big L because, again, I'm looking at this a little bit more as a triumph, and I hope that people aren't offended by that. We know COVID was very serious. Obviously, we lived through it here in New York City where it was devastating, and this is no laughing matter. I do feel like now, though, we are treating it a little bit more like the flu. It's not thought of as the sort of deadly airborne virus that it was back in 2020. And so I do see him doing this as overcoming something. Even if you're right, did he deceive people a little by not being more open about it? Or there ways that this maybe could have been handled better? Should he even been out there at all? Is definitely a question. But I find it more like, wow, he still was able to get a bronze medal with COVID and with asthma. Like, this is an unreal achievement for him.
I mean, and the serious part of this conversation, at least in my mind, the difference between COVID and any other kind of like, quote unquote, like regular health issue is that we still are not really clear on what COVID can do to you long term.
Sure.
So like, you still don't want COVID. Yeah. You still don't want it multiple times, which is where, again, there's room for, was he irresponsible in his decisions to be at the track yesterday at all?
Totally. But, Bogus, do you have to, not to let him off the hook if you are mad about him competing, you're entitled to it. But it was the IOC, the Olympic Committee, who put out these protocols that said it's up to the athlete if they want to compete. What do you think these athletes are going to do? They're waiting their whole lives for 19 and a half seconds.
Yes.
They're not going to let COVID knock them out.
And if you hadn't read this, there have been a couple of there was a swimmer that missed a couple of days, won a silver in something, and then came back for a relay like 5 days later. And there were multiple Australian water polo men who tested positive like before the game started, stayed away. Australia let them come back in when they were feeling better, and then they were... So he's not even the only person that this has happened to in these games. I've also seen athletes, when they're giving you like those behind-the-scenes shots, wearing masks. I thought that they were doing that to be protected from bugs in these tiny rooms because you don't want to get sick at the Olympics. But maybe there are even more people that we don't know about who are going through this. But yes, if you look at it just from a physical standpoint...
How did he do this?
He finished third in a longer race with a fairly severe like respiratory illness.
Just crazy. You know, I want to just bring in EJ because EJ, I don't know if you're seeing this the same way. Are you looking at it as a triumph or is it an outrage that he did compete yesterday?
I think there's a situation where there's a little bit of both. I feel like for me, I can't crush Noah Lyles because I feel like if I was an athlete in his shoes, there's no way I'm not running that race.
Right.
So I get that. But that is where, to me, the IOC and Team USA needs to protect, A, the athlete from himself, and B, protect the other athletes from Noah Lyles. Like, that to me was my biggest beef, was Noah Lyles runs this race, he finishes bronze, he has COVID, that's fine, and now he's not going to compete in the 4x100. But what about these other guys who were around him?
Right, who are still competing. Right.
You may have now put the rest of the track and field Olympics, now thank goodness it's almost over, but you may have put the rest of the field at risk. What if somebody else from Team USA can't compete? What if some of these other guys who have been working 4 years to get to this point can't compete because now they have COVID and they're not going to risk running out there running a 100-meter or 200-meter or 400-meter sprint like Noah Lyles.
No,
So that,
I
to me,
totally
was one
get
of
it.
the biggest things I had.
I totally get it. And lo and behold, the Olympics has turned into a super spreader event. Everyone now
That's the
go
other
back
part
to
of
your
it.
countries and, whatever. But that's just like the world we live in now. We're so connected and globalized. But here's the thing, though, not to go back to the 2020 conversations we were having when COVID protocols were changing almost like whatever way the wind blew. You really would have to be in close contact with him for somewhat of a extended period of time. And they were outside, and we do, not the whole time, like they're in a back room area. But I just think that what we know now, I guess I see where the IOC kind of said, all right, we're not going to monitor this thing to the letter of the law. We're just going to have you use your judgment because we've all lived with this now for 4 years.
I would feel a little more comfortable with the decision if we were being told today, on top of him going to a hotel and quarantine by himself and wearing the mask, I'd be a little more comfortable if the other runners knew what was going on and he was kept separate from them before the race.
Got it.
Because the odds of him giving them anything on the track in open air when they're running, they're on the track for 90 seconds maybe total, and like getting out there and stretching and getting in the block and all that kind of stuff. That's not where he's gonna spread it. He's gonna spread it in the back room.
Right.
So if you tell me, okay, he had his own space, we kept him private, nobody talked to him, I'd feel a little bit better about this. Because that's the problem with this disease. I have it, I give it to you. No big deal for me and you. And maybe you go home and you give it to your son or your mom, and that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
And it was avoidable to a certain extent.
We did hear that he was wearing a mask wherever he was with other people. But yeah, they were keeping it. I'm curious how people fall on this at 855-212-4227 because, you want to, it's a triumph. You're seeing Americans take silver and gold in this race, and that's a feel-good thing. Right? We should be very proud of our athletes when they do this. And then you find out he has COVID. It's like, wait, what? And, that's a really serious topic. EJ, you wanted to get one more thing in.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say, too, which is kind of the other flip side of this, is what Noah did was incredible. And if I was now one of these other athletes who are now have to sit here after training for 4 years and say, I lost to a guy who has asthma and COVID and still could not get a bronze medal.
I should give up.
That also would be killer for me. I would never want to step foot on a track again. I would go find a different discipline because that also is painful. I mean, this is 200 meters is not a short sprint. That is a long sprint. And this guy ran it and looked like he was going to die. Like he ripped his jersey off. He's in a wheelchair. I look at that and I'm like, damn, I couldn't be that guy. I mean, what am I doing?
Well, that's probably another reason why he didn't want to let anyone know he had it beforehand, because he probably doesn't want somebody to, file a grievance or try to do something to get him out of the race. It wouldn't have happened. He was totally fine in competing, but.
Are you picking up on what we've learned about EJ in the last 3 days? He's very sensitive to outside influences. He speed runs through the Superman because he feels judgment from other people. And he would
turntables have
exactly. And now he'd run himself into retirement because he failed to beat an asthmatic, COVID-riddled Noah Lyles in the Olympics.
This crap is crap.
Just be you, EJ. Just keep running. Take your time in the supermarket.
Head up high.
Yeah. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks or does. Just live your life.
Especially at the supermarket. Believe me, the nonas and the nanas are not judging you by how long you take to go grocery shopping. 855-212-4227. Where do you fall on Noah Lyles? Are you looking at him as a triumphant? Is this a triumph yesterday to get bronze despite having COVID? Or are you outraged that he was able to compete and maybe put some other people in harm's way? Okay, we have so much to do. We've got football from last night. Speaking of outrage.
If you say so.
Can you imagine booing a preseason game?
Can you imagine going to a preseason game and having any emotional reaction to what happens on the field?
I get going to a preseason game because if I have a very young son, and if he was really into to sports, especially football, there's part of me that might take him to the preseason game, which is like 1/100th of the price of a regular season game.
And at the very least, logistically, it's easier. There's less people there, get in and out.
He might get an autograph or two, as opposed to a regular season game where there's no chance that's going to happen, or very little chance.
Hadn't thought of it that way. But I booed myself watching the Patriots game last night in my house. So if you're at the game booing, you're doing it wrong.
Booing a preseason game, but did the fans have a right to boo and a reason to boo? We have that. We've also got the latest on what's going on with Brandon Aiyuk. We know that's very much of importance to our fans in California. 855-212-4227. It's Maggie and Perloff. And Bogish is in for Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Bogish is in for Andrew Perloff. Just having a conversation in the break. And I think we can have this conversation on the air. We're not trying to be, shallow buffoons about this.
Which I usually am. This is how I preface my comment to Maggie. I was like, in a non-piggy way, can I just point out that all of these track and field runners are beautiful on top of being fast?
I have a theory about it. I have a theory. Yes, I think a lot of this is like genetic lottery in kind of every way. Like you clearly have not just the genetic lottery, you have like the work ethic, the grit, all that. But there is something that goes along with being an athlete, which is you are just so healthy. And yes, these women and the guys, I mean, they're just objectively good-looking people. And I think that it's because they're getting the right amount of sleep. Their diets are, for the most part, impeccable.
Right.
Like, they're glowing from the inside out. Like, their skin's all nice. Like, every part about them is their body and keeping it perfectly in tune. So, of course, your face might look good.
I'm just thinking that there's just better people. Like I'm also waiting for them to tell me how they are accomplished violinists. Like they're just good at everything: running, hurdles, instruments. They can paint, and they are beautiful human beings. Like maybe we should be like mad at them for being more perfect versions of the species.
Don't hate. We gotta elevate the. It's like they've just sort of they're just sort of better.
They're just better.
I think they're sort of better. Also, I think they don't deal with a lot of the BS. Listen, they're human beings, so they deal with BS, but maybe not the same kind of BS that the rest of us deal with, right? Which is like, I got to just stop at Mickey D's or, something that's not known to be like as healthy. Sometimes you just got to do that as a regular person. They're probably counting every almond and, only the nicest smoothies, and there's no compromise with them, which a lot of us have to make compromises. Our sleep schedules are upside down. It's just part of this job. We can't avoid it.
Speaking of sleeping, this is how deeply entrenched I've become in this morning, this role, filling in for Perloff. I took a nap yesterday, 90 minutes. It felt like 9 hours. When I woke up, I didn't know if it was morning, afternoon, nothing. But I had a dream during this nap. All I remember, though, is me driving, you in the passenger seat, and Kaplan in the back seat. I don't know where we were going. I don't know what car we were driving, but we were in Manhattan in a car. I was driving, and you and Kaplan were shotgun. That's all I got, but that's where we are now. I'm now dreaming about you dopes.
Bogish, that happened yesterday. I'm just kidding. That wasn't a dream. We were driving to Times Square.
I think Kaplan had a pizza in the back. I got to stop doing drugs.
You need to get a little more sleep. And this is why this is why we'll never be as beautiful as the Olympians, because they just get to be so in tune with their body.
Yeah, they're outside in the sunlight too all the time.
A lot of vitamin
D.
Yeah, it's different.
Jerks.
And you'll find out it's like, and they went to Harvard. It's like, cool. And also their mind is being expanded in these interesting and unique ways.
Right, they're seeing the world. They're cultured.
And then we get to cheer them on. So we're doing our part also.
Or tear them down because they didn't win by enough.
That also. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Okay, let's get to what the latest is with San Francisco and what's going on with BrandonAiyuk. Day 1 million on the will they, won't they trade him. And the latest, Bogish, and I don't know if this is going to have an impact, but it certainly is a part of the story, which is Kyle Shanahan has had it up to here. Now, if I were Shanahan, I would not be directing my ire to Aiyuk. I'm directing it to the front office. Figure this out. Like, that's your job. It's not Aiyuk's job to figure out the cap sheet and the finances of the 49ers. It's his job to play football, and then the market is what the market is. So now he wants to get paid, just like 5 other guys on your team who have pulled this in the last 3 years. And by the way, another guy's doing it now in Trent Williams, but he's just more important than Brandon Aiyuk, so nobody's talking about it as much. They'll definitely get it figured out. To me, if I'm Shanahan, and this article came out in the San Francisco Chronicle that he's upset with Aiyuk, giving him the big bro hug and then being pouty or whatever, turn that to John Lynch and the guys in the front office for how this has dragged out to the point that it has. I don't blame the athlete here.
I don't blame the athlete, and I also still believe that there is a solution where everybody just moves on and legitimately hugs and is okay, and that's paying Brandon Aiyuk. Like, I don't know that that's still impossible. It certainly seems the heavy favorite is there's a trade, but if he keeps saying no to teams and the Niners keep asking for ridiculous things, we might get to a point where they have to, they go so far in opposite directions that they start coming back towards themselves, and they talk and they figure something out, and then everything is fine again. Like, these things can go away fast when everybody gets what they want. And Kyle Shanahan can be as PO'd as he wants about the way Aiyuk is handling things, but he also knows how good of a football player he is.
Right.
And he knows that
he developed him.
Right. And he knows that his team is technically better with him. So if they keep him and Aiyuk gets paid, then they'll be fine.
Right. So who's going to pay Aiyuk, though? You're still holding out hope that the 49ers are going to pay him?
Not holding out hope. I don't think that there's a non-zero chance that am I saying that correct? Like,
sure.
It's not out of the realm of possibilities that they realize that the best course is still to stay together.
Yeah, see, I don't see it. I don't think that they want to pay him, and I think they're thinking about the long-term sort of, and that's part of the front office's job, right? We're looking long-term here, which is why I don't understand why they didn't trade him before the draft. You actually could have had an asset that would have gone from a draft pick to someone tangible on the field, because meanwhile, Ricky Pearsall got banged up yet again with another shoulder thing yesterday.
Yeah.
So, you think, we've got this replacement who's going to step right in, even though they don't exactly play the same type of receiver position, but he's going to step right in. Well, you know what happens. Nothing is perfect like that. And I just don't, I maintain that the 49ers never wanted to pay him. And I think now they're trying to look for a trade to get themselves out of it and still come away with someone who can help them this year. But I think they do not want Brandon Aiyuk on their cap sheet moving forward. And we could argue whether that's the smart thing to do, right? Do you want to be paying a receiver, $28 to $30 million?
Yeah, and as I've been saying all week, to me, he's the guy that has to go, so I still have Kittle and Debo and McCaffrey. I'm okay with this decision in theory. And if somebody's got to get traded or not signed, he's the guy to do it. And that still is the more likely scenario here. And I'm wondering when they go back to the whole, we don't have to give you the benefit of talking to these teams. It obviously behooves them to keep that in play because then they get a better return if the team knows that they've got Aiyuk long term. But at some point, they can remind him that they can just send him wherever they want to.
But that's not how this particular transaction has been working because the 49ers want something back. And in order to get something good or decent or whatever, then Ayuk's got to play ball. And that's why he holds the cards here. And he already said no to the Patriots, reportedly. And after watching the Patriots last night, I think I understood why. I'm just kidding. We'll get to the preseason stuff, and you're welcome to weigh in on this now personality conflict, allegedly, reportedly, that's going on where Kyle Shanahan has been fed up with how Aiyuk has been handling the hold-in at 855-212-4227, because I think a lot of 49er fans are also upset with how Aiyuk has handled the hold-in. Pat Boyle is with us this morning. Good morning, Patty. How you doing?
Good morning. How are we all?
We're doing great. I mean...
Stupendous.
Oh, nice, Pete.
You watched Noah Lyles yesterday?
I did.
You were not happy?
Not happy...
With the result?
Did you delete your tweet?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not at all.
About loser energy?
No.
Okay.
I think he did have loser energy. COVID or not, if you have COVID and you know that there's a chance you're not going to feel well, by the way, 20-second race. But if you know you're not going to feel well running a 20-second race, you're asthmatic, you have COVID, totally fair. Maybe then don't run out for your intros like you just won the Super Bowl before you even ran the race.
Right.
If you think there's a chance, hey, I might not be at my best in a race that's going to be decided by a half a second or even less, maybe don't do that.
Tone down on the pregame intro. In case you weren't watching it yesterday, they introduced all the track athletes one by one, and they introduced Lyles last because he's kind of like the big star, and he came out and basically did like kind of a victory lap before the race even started. And now knowing that he had COVID, it's like, how did you even muster the energy? But you know what that is, Pat? It's adrenaline. Maybe a little intimidation factor, trying to get in people's heads a little bit. Like, I'm here, the track is mine.
We're trying to psych himself up.
He spent half of his energy before the actual race began. So
it was a big intro.
Look, again, it's a very courageous effort to run a 20-second race when you have COVID and you're asthmatic. But, I mean, if he wins the race, he's not doing that. So, made it all about himself in a losing effort. To me, that's just... Oh, it's a loser energy.
Didn't it remind you a little of Apollo Creed in Rocky IV when he's fighting Drago? And obviously we know what happened at the end. Spoiler, Drago kills him. So this obviously is not an apples to apples.
I was going to
cross that off.
Yeah, it's okay. Rocky gets revenge, guys.
Well,
and then he gets the Cold War.
If you haven't seen it yet by now.
It came out in 1989. But anyway, Apollo Creed comes out with like the big Uncle Sam outfit on, and he's doing the whole big show. And then Drago just like punches him in the face. It reminded me a little of that. It's like you got to play it up a little bit.
Let's clarify. Punches him in the face multiple times.
Oh, they should have stopped the fight. I'm with you. It was a travesty. How this happened on American soil. I mean, we lost Apollo Creed. He's one of the world's greatest boxers. He's a champion. Still gets me. Pat.
So I know you guys talk about getting to the preseason games. Here's a little bit on them. By the way, how dare you guys be mad at people for sitting at MetLife Stadium in the pouring rain for a preseason game or for booing at Patriots-Panthers, a game which is definitely a chance to be a Super Bowl preview.
They booed. Are you getting into this, or do you want me to set it up?
No, you go ahead.
So, it's raining all across the East Coast. The weather's been horrible across the country. We're feeling the effects of this tropical storm, Debbie, or I don't even know which one we're up to now, but I hope everybody stays safe. I know in the Carolinas it's really, really bad and down south. So it's just driving rainstorm both places, New England and in New York. And the Patriots trotted out DrakeMaye for one series. One series. Now, that's their right. It's bad weather. Who knows? Gerard Mayo doesn't really have a great explanation for why they did this, but Bailey Zappi played like 3/4 of the game,
like
basically.
They were mad at him.
Yeah, right. And the fans booed when they saw Zappi come out for the second half. And I think it's ridiculous to boo a preseason game, but I do get it. Like, show us a little more of the future of the franchise, please.
At least he played it all. Patriots beat the Panthers, by the way, 17-3. Bryce Young didn't play for the Panthers. I mean, if there's anybody that probably should be playing in a preseason game, it would be Bryce Young. But again, with the weather, understandable. Both rookie QBs for the Patriots did. You mentioned DrakeMaye, only one series, only threw 3 passes, completed 2 of them for 19 yards. But how about this? QB controversy has already arrived in New England after their 6th-round pick, Joe Milton of Tennessee, made a couple of high-right reel plays, 4 of 6 for 54 yards and a touchdown in the air, ran 5 times for 22 yards, including a play that made the rounds on social media where he basically ran 250 yards to avoid sacks before picking up 13 actual yards. And after the game, you think what we do isn't powerful. How about Patriots' new head coach Gerard Mayo addressing sports talk radio rumors of Milton making a run at DrakeMaye's job?
I don't even listen to that stuff. But honestly, look, Joe went out there. We know he has a big arm. He has the athleticism. He's getting better with his reads every single day. He has natural leadership ability. But once again, it's not just about one game. It's about the full body of work. So you can come out here and play well, but you also have to do it on a day-to-day basis.
Gerard Mayo, by the way, did answer a question in terms of players who exceeded expectations and mentioned Joe Milton. So
he seems to like this guy.
And he's putting the pressure on DrakeMaye.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who are big Tennessee fans were like, keep telling us more about the Joe Milton in practice versus Joe Milton in the game stuff, which might not be fair. But Maybe, I don't know how they're going to handle this Maye thing. And he obviously was the guy who's drafted 3rd overall, but of the guys who were drafted, he was sort of known as the project. Mm-hmm. And there's no urgency to start him whatsoever. Milton starting over him would be an all-time upset, but I think they're going with Jacoby Brissett for like at least half the season. Brissett started the game.
Not even Zappy hour?
Well, as Perloff said, he is Zappy curious. His new lane. No, I don't think Zappy. I don't think Zappy's going to be a thing.
No.
Yeah? No more Zappy hour?
No.
We're done with that? Be Jacoby Brissett and then the rookies?
Yeah, I think so.
And the Giants did beat the Lions 14-3. I think Lions fans were reminded that they have no prayer of winning a Super Bowl if Jared Goff gets hurt because, man, Nate Sudfeld stinks. 13 of 24 for 96 yards and a pick. And I get it, doesn't have the offensive line out there, doesn't have Amon or St. But none of those their star players played, but he's horrible.
Giants are the same way, too, so.
Well,
he should have had it.
Well, the Giants aren't a Super Bowl contender. Out of all the Super Bowl contending teams, and I know backup quarterbacks, we're not going into a season saying, oh, well, this backup quarterback can win a Super Bowl. But after watching like 75 different quarterbacks play last year, you would think maybe it's important to have someone that's capable of doing the job.
It's a fair point. They do have Hendon Hooker, though, also, who looked fine. Yes. Again, it's backups versus backups, and he's able to use his legs, and maybe they think that he would actually be the guy.
Okay. And the legend of Tommy Cutlets returned for the Giants. Tommy DeVito came in for an equally underwhelming Drew Lock. He went 8 of 15 for 92 yards. Daniel Jones, coming back from his torn ACL last year, did not play. Most starters for both teams did not play. And our buddy Jerry Jones just has not learned. Spoke with Cowboys reporters after Dallas's joint practice with the Rams and was asked whether or not there's urgency on getting a deal done for CeeDee Lamb. He said no, and then was asked to explain.
I don't have a sense of urgency about getting it done.
It's a long-standing tradition.
Pick any reason you want. I was at Nobu 2 days ago. Give that as a reason.
I was at Nobu 2 days ago.
Yeah. Did he also say something like, I went to high school, I went to college. Yeah. I don't even know what day it is.
Natural gas.
Don't you feel like being around Jerry Jones, you would get into a lot of those moments where everyone's laughing, but no one's sure why?
Yes.
Like, he's the boss, so he starts to laugh, then you've got to laugh. And all of a sudden, we're sitting around laughing. It's like, what's so funny? He's like, I don't know. Like, everyone's just la-di-da, 3 Johnny Walkers in.
Yeah.
Let's run the team.
CeeDee Lamb retweeted, basically, quote tweeted, a clip of that LOL. Micah Parsons retweeted it and became very widespread on social media last night.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get more into this later in the show, but a certain guest of ours earlier this week may have called it. The Cowboys weren't signing any of these guys this year. And that's a heck of a strategy to go in when you say you're all in.
Yeah, and then we'll get to some baseball next hour, but obviously the big story from yesterday, 17 points down, game on the line, LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant close out the game, lead USA to a comeback over Serbia, 95-91. They take down Jokic and Bogdan Bogdanovic, who was brilliant, was basically like showing up Carmelo Anthony on the sideline doing his celebration. Team USA wins it. It'll be USA versus France in the gold medal game tomorrow afternoon, a rematch of the Tokyo Olympics final. That's a 3:30 p.m. Eastern tip, 9:30 p.m. in Paris. France beat Germany in the semis, 73-69. Gershon Yabusele led the way for France.
My favorite.
With 17 points. Wembenyama, by the way, just 11 points on 4 of 17 from the field. So, honestly, I'm kind of done with hearing about how Wemby's a top 5 player already. I mean, you can't score. You 4 of 17 against Daniel Tice and Mo Wagner. Give me a break.
Well, he is in the gold medal game. I mean, he's obviously doing something right.
He was like the 3rd best player on his team yesterday. I look, Wembenyama might go down as one of the greatest players of all time, but let's let him actually get there. Yeah. I mean, again, the guy was so freaking brilliant last year where in the NBA where we've seen one player can kind of carry a team, and the Spurs went, 14-68? How bad were they?
Yeah, but he won Rookie of the Year unanimously. I mean, I don't think you can hold the team's record against a rookie. Okay, you want to get into year 2, year 3. I think then it starts to become a little bit more like, okay, when is this guy going to actually make the playoffs? But year one, don't you get a little bit of a leeway, a little grace, Pat?
No, not if people are telling me that he is already one of the best players on the planet. No. No chance.
Did LeBron make the playoffs his first season?
I would say absolutely yes.
I don't think he did.
He did not.
What?
It's the first year. He wasn't an all-star that year.
Nope.
He didn't make the playoffs that year. Like, I think you get a year, even if you're generational, air quotes.
LeBron didn't make the playoffs in his first year?
I don't think so. They fired Paul Silas, I think, right after. They had to do some tweaks on the roster.
Jeez. All right, really quickly, speaking of hoops, NBA Christmas Day schedule is reportedly out. What do we think of this lineup? Speaking of the Spurs and Wembanyama, I cannot wait to boo him when they go to Madison Square Garden and take on the Knicks.
Victor Wembanyama?
That'll be the first tip. T-Wolves at the Mavericks, 76ers at the Celtics, Lakers at the Warriors, so LeBron and Steph, and then Nuggets at the Suns. Dynamite. I think either way the NFL is on Christmas
Dynamite.
now.
Who's playing in the NFL?
Exactly.
Man, the NFL just came in and just stole the NBA's lunch. Like they just stuffed them in a locker when it comes to Christmas. Like, oh, we'll play on 3 days rest. It's like, is that smart?
And
like,
LeBron and Steph isn't exactly LeBron and Steph of 3 years ago.
That's true, but we'll get into yesterday's game. That was unbelievable. I don't know if people were watching this or if maybe you just caught the highlights. It was on in the middle of the day. It really was a throwback. It was just amazing to watch what they did in overcoming that 17-point deficit. We'll get into that even more coming up next. Thank you, Pat. It's Maggie and Perloff. Andrew Bogish in for Perloff this morning.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Churro stick. Caraco.
4 minutes remaining.
Pico de Goyo. Tequila. Give a little love into your body, Macarena.
Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Everyone was boogieing for real yesterday after Team USA pulled out it felt like an improbable win against Serbia to head to the gold medal game against France. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Bogish is in for Andrew Perloff today. And it was crunch time for Team USA. They were pushed. It's hard to beat any team 3 times in basically a month. And Serbia brought it to Team USA. They were down by 17. It took an unreal fourth quarter. And there's so many ways to divvy up the accolades, like the praise, and there's maybe some blame, I think, for Steve Kerr for how they got into this mess in the first place and found themselves down by double digits in the fourth quarter. The rotations made no sense when it becomes crunch time. And finally, Steve Kerr in the fourth quarter did figure it out that, hey, when you're down and you really got to win a game, how about we go with LeBron, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, and Devin Booker. And that was the 5 that brought it home for Team USA. Bogish. It was a fabulous win and really gave me goosebumps to watch them come together and turn it on like that.
Maggie, this was also very personal for me. This is kind of like my Noah Lyles to a certain extent, because when you were out, EJ and I had some fairly significant back and forths about, because this is in the middle of the tune-up games where they were not winning in dominant fashion, and EJ was worried that this was sending bad, messages, bad voodoo, bad mojo for the actual games that matter. What's wrong with the program? This is why you have to pick things differently. Where's Jalen Brunson? And I said they've won the last 4 gold medals. They haven't lost anything yet. There's no reason to be worried. So they have to win the gold medal for me, for nothing else.
Now. Okay.
So when they're down 17, and then it's only 6, but then it's 16, and then it's only 7, but then it's 14, and it's 13 the whole to begin the fourth quarter, I almost quit to not have to come in today and deal with EJ. So thank you, Steph Curry and Joel Embiid, for shunning not just Cameroon, but France as well to play for the U.S., and Steph and Curry and KD and Booker to rescue me from EJ having all the bragging rights.
Man, I didn't realize how personal this was. Let's hear from Kevin Durant. He says this is the best team he's ever played on.
Yeah, it's a special group of guys. Just time is winding down. We got one more game, and it's kind of bittersweet, because we are playing in the gold medal game, an opportunity to get another gold, but we're not going to be together for, once we finish here. And it's just a joy being in the locker room with these guys, on the bus, just talking life with these guys, and then hooping on the floor with them. Just the best team I've ever been a part of, and I want us to finish it off with a gold.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just survived their best test. We'll see what happens against France. They match up a lot better against France. But, What I really have a question about for this basketball, this was really a team effort for them to come together. They would not have won this game without Joel Embiid. They would not have won this game without Kevin Durant's defense. They would not have won this game without LeBron James taking the ball to the basket, signature LeBron James style. If he didn't have the gray and the beard, you would have thought that this was 2016, 2012 LeBron James. They would not have won this game if Booker wasn't playing defense the way he was and picking up guys 94 feet. They needed and Steph Curry hitting every three and doing all the great Steph Curry things that he is known for. Who does this game belong to? Like, it belongs to all of them. And I heard Dwayne Wade on the broadcast say, if they win this game, and this is when it was still in the balance, this will be known as the Steph Curry game. I'm like, you could say that. This could also be the Joel Embiid game. This is one of the best stretches I've seen Embiid play maybe ever. It was 2.5 minutes of him hitting 3 shots in a row and coming up with a big defensive play. Had a bad defensive play later on in that late in the fourth quarter.
Could have grabbed a rebound at some point to stop
somebody grab a freaking rebound. But you could have said Kevin Durant forcing a backcourt violation because of his awesome defense and stripping Bogdanovich of the ball in a different spot. LeBron, again, just putting his head down and going to the rim instead of settling for jumpers, which got them into a bad spot in the first place. It was just an incredible win. I was so impressed.
I don't know how to compare it to NBA accomplishments, but it matters so much to them, it appears, because I think they, again, did one of their cool post-game pictures on the steps outside the arena, whatever that is. Like, it matters so much to them. It's got to be high on the list of things that they've done, because I had kind of given up. Like, I knew there'd be a comeback, and there were like 3 mini ones, and Serbia kept having an answer.
Yeah.
So, and then even all of a sudden, it was a 2-point game and Serbia didn't foul for some reason. So, I still thought, maybe they could still lose this game, and here comes EJ. So, it was just remarkable that they won. And in the end, it was like everything that matters to me about these guys, the pros being in the Olympics. Like, they all showed up.
Yep.
They all showed off. Because there were 6 of them, they refused to lose to anybody.
Yeah.
You can argue, okay, they should have been down and they should have defended a 3, maybe put a hand up on defense at sometimes. But then that fourth quarter was magic.
Yeah,
they
really
just
was.
decided we're not going to lose.
And I think the big part of this, and I've called this season the empty the tank season for LeBron, and he looks like he's found the fountain of youth, so maybe I'm wrong about this and he'll play another 5 years. But there was this sort of feeling, and I don't know if it's conscious or if it's subconscious with these guys, that this might be the last big achievement that they have. Is this the last quote-unquote title that they're going to win? If you're LeBron and if you're Steph Curry and if you're Durant, quite frankly, is this sort of is this going to be the last line on the resume? Because making it to the Western Conference Finals and losing to the Nuggets in the first round, either by a sweep or a gentleman's sweep, is not making the Hall of Fame induction bullet points. But another gold medal, and the first one for Curry, definitely will. And I think there's that innate drive to win, and they're competitive and all of that. But is there also maybe an idea, hey, we're the veterans, we're the old guys here, and this may be our last chance at the glory? And you see Carmelo Anthony, you mentioned, Pat mentioned him before, Carmelo Anthony sitting front row. If Carmelo Anthony probably would have given his life savings to get back on that court one more time. Yeah. That's what it felt like. He wanted to be out there so badly. He's talking trash to the Serbians. And I think that maybe do LeBron and Steph see that, and it's like, man, and Katie, thank God I get to still be out here and keep doing this. And I cannot, and this could be my last big thing.
And I said this the other day. I mean, we can't ask for more from these guys. And Durant and LeBron in particular are good at annoying us.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And Embiid.
Yeah, but sometimes they deserve the heat they get. Other times, in my estimation, they don't. But this is all accolades, all hat tips, all bows, all thank yous. They're over 35. They don't even need to be there. They're there. They care. And they're playing ridiculously well.
This felt like the gold medal game.
Yeah.
The way they were celebrating, the relief and the joy. You feel terrible for Serbia. They got crushed, but they looked crushed because they had it, and then they just started missing shots at the end. And you're right, USA started playing a little bit better defense. Were you watching that yesterday, and what'd you think? Was that LeBron and Steph and KD's last chance at some championship glory? 855-212-4227. Coming up. All right, what's going on with the Cowboys? We'll dive into that next. Go, Book.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Shine.
4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
There's two reads on this. Either Jerry is trolling his own players, Jerry Jones that is, or he's turned senile. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Bogusch in for Andrew Perloff. I'm kidding, but I don't know if I am, because Jerry's doing something here, and it's clearly meant to either antagonize his players or just create confusion and consternation. Bogusch, here's a little of what we're talking about. So this was Jerry Jones in Oxnard, California training camp, and he said he has no urgency to sign CeeDee Lamb, who is nowhere to be found. He's a holdout. The contract has been one of the biggest storylines of this offseason, but Jerry not feeling the urgency to get this deal done.
Are you saying there's a sense of urgency as you begin the preseason to get CD done?
No.
No? Why you say that?
I'm just I went to high school or I went to college. I don't know why I said it, but I'm just saying I don't know. I don't have a sense of urgency about getting it done.
It's a long-standing tradition.
Pick any reason you want. I was at Nobu 2 days ago. Give that as a reason.
Ha ha. Ha. Imagine this is the guy who's gatekeeping you from generational money that you feel like you're entitled to. It's bizarre. So anyway, this clip made it onto social media, Bogusch. Of course it did. And CeeDee Lamb himself retweeted it with just LOL.
Within minutes, too. I think it was 10 minutes. So
he's got nothing else to do. He's not at training camp.
It's just, again, that's how the NFC East was lost. Is that answer? That's why the Eagles, or, well, maybe not, definitely not the Giants, maybe the Commanders win the NFC East.
It's right there for them with this clown show.
This is a non-serious organization. I don't remember this. Apparently, Jerry was just as dismissive in the past with other guys, like Zach Martin last year. It'll get done when it gets done, and then it gets done. So, I mean, it's in the cards that CeeDee Lamb has a deal by the time you and Perloff sit in these chairs on Monday morning. But I just
doubt it.
Right. Not the most likely scenario, but this is again my point from the other day is they are never going to win anything of significance again while he is in charge, because it's always something.
I think it's time to just really turn this thing over to Steven. I mean, I don't know if people think that the Cowboys are going to lose this sort of cachet if Jerry's not out here talking and creating headlines, but then Stephen Jones has to come into the back end and kind of clean up the mess and be like, no, we still really want to sign CeeDee Lamb, and they're trying to say all the right things.
Yeah.
And to me, I think Jerry is just making it worse. Now, what's interesting about this is what actually happens. You mentioned CeeDee Lamb could have a contract by the time Perloff is back here on Monday. However, we had Phil Simms on earlier this week.
This is Phil Simms.
Phil did a great job on the preseason game last night, by the way. He's a great addition to any booth. Let me just endorse Simms there. But his belief was that the Cowboys were actually going to punt on all of these big money decisions till the offseason.
Hey, look, next year when the offseason starts, that's when it'll really heat up. They're not going to do anything before. And, I think the Cowboys are in a tough spot. I do. With Jerry Jones, I think with Dak, of course, and CeeDee Lamb, and then Micah Parsons is definitely going to come up next year. So what are they going to do? And it's going to be interesting.
This is Phil Simms.
Again, but if Phil's right, and it's looking a little bit more like he's right, that none of these contracts are going to go down this year, you're a Cowboy fan, you're pulling your hair out. Because what else is going to happen between now and then? Jamar Chase could get done.
Yeah.
This could get even more expensive. And while that shouldn't be a Cowboys fans lament, let the front office take care of the contracts, you're just going to go through this whole thing again, and the money's going to be higher, not lower, when you sign CeeDee Lamb next season.
So what is the actual motivation, though, of letting this play out to this extent through an entire season? Is the motivation to leave themselves open to some kind of reset next year? Because, again, this didn't go well. And the NFL is a different beast for all the different contractual and salary cap reasons and whatnot, and you would never want to lose Dak Prescott for all of whatever you think his limitations are. For him just like to leave for nothing is not good for the organization. But there is logic in getting to next offseason. Maybe you don't win the division again, more playoff failure where you go, this collection isn't working anymore. So let's do something different. We're going to fire Mike McCarthy. I'm not going to pay Dak Prescott $70 million. Like, I can see.
Not going to pay CeeDee Lamb.
Right. I can see the logic in, like, just going, this attempt, this core has run its course. Like, we're not going to go any further. Let's do something different. But to do something different requires you to be terrible this year so you can pick a quarterback in next year's draft, which is not going to happen when you keep Dak Prescott and you have CeeDee Lamb, you have Micah Parsons. They're not going to be bad enough to let you do a true reset. So they're going to be screwed in a different way by trying to rebuild on the fly.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to get a blue chip, guy. Generally, it's harder, you think, if you're picking in the late 20s or something like that. So it's a fair logic. A couple things there. I don't love the idea that you draft guys like CeeDee Lamb, you develop them, they become great, he's your number one offensive weapon, and then you're like, a little too rich for our blood. Like, to me, that doesn't make sense. You draft a guy, you develop a guy, these are the people you want to be part of the core. This is different to me than BrandonAiyuk with the 49ers. BrandonAiyuk is like the third or fourth option sometimes on the offense. He plays a really big role, and I think one that's underrated, and fans are underrating now, but they have all these other weapons. The starting running back for the Cowboys right now could be Ezekiel Elliott. Guys, this is like not ideal. So I think when you have a true number one like that, which CeeDee Lamb has proven that he is, that's not who I mess around with. Now, as far as the quarterback is concerned, I've been trying to get a little bit more of a handle on what's going on with that situation. Because I'm with you. This makes no sense. Who's your plan B if you're not going to Dak Prescott?
Right.
These quarterbacks don't grow on trees. And what are you going to replace Dak with, like a Kirk Cousins down the line, or an injured Matthew Stafford, or who just got an extension, by the way, with the Rams, so that might be off the table, or Perloff's choice of AaronRodgers. I mean, these things are all, a lot of things have to break right for you to get one of those guys. So here's Trey Lance, who's been sitting at third string, who's been kind of biding his time. And Trey Lance, can we hear cut 12, please, Pete? This was Trey Lance on the Doomsday podcast saying he still has all the confidence in the world, and watching Dak Prescott has helped him.
Plenty of it, yeah. I think that's one thing that I've learned, and Dak's been great about as well, with everything, you guys do and all the media and everything like that. It's been great for me to be around Dak and see how he handles it as well. And I think the minute you start to lose confidence in yourself, I think that's when, things start to spiral. So I know it comes from, for me, perspective and knowing who I am on and off the field. And I think that's kind of where I get it from.
Okay, so Trey Lance has been behind the scenes, soaking all this up, watching how the Cowboys do business, watching how Dak Prescott handles himself. And by the way, we like to clown Mike McCarthy about a lot of things, and sometimes he can kind of come off a little like aloof or whatever, a little too folksy, I think, for some people. The dude can develop a quarterback. He has done that over and over again, going back to, the Green Bay days, where however it ended, he has helped quarterbacks. So the idea that nothing is happening with Trey Lance behind the scenes, I think would be ridiculous. Is it possible that what the Cowboys are doing is actually a little bit of the Green Bay model? They have a guy who's a first-round pick, who's sitting behind the veteran, learning, growing, soaking all this up, and then they deploy Trey Lance next year. I think that's what they're hoping, and it's been off the radar.
Yeah, and we mentioned this kind of as a joke the other day, but because it's the Cowboys, like there's also this weird Deion Shador double rumor floating around, as well. But Trey Lance is there. This is going to be year 2 learning and a full year, and there's still talent in Trey Lance. And who knows? You might have guys already done this in your multiple universe.
Yes,
can't
the multiverse.
comprehend the multiverse. Like if Trey Lance's ankle doesn't snap,
we've done that one.
Where are we? Like where are we now? So, and it wouldn't be past Jerry to fall in love with somebody at practice and think like he's the next cheaper option, because there also is logic in not paying Dak Prescott $70 million a year.
Well, totally. And let's stay on Lance for a second, and let's stay on who is the Cowboys' biggest rival right now, the 49ers. And seeing the 49ers obviously saw something in Trey Lance where they mortgaged so many future assets to get him. And do you think Jerry's not watching what the 49ers do and saying, if it's good enough for them, should it be good enough for us? And we actually have the time and the space to develop this dude? The Shador Deion thing kind of throws
it's
wrench into this whole thing. What is that? Like, what are we supposed to do with that? It's a fun pipe dream?
Yeah, it's for blanks and giggles because it's the Cowboys. So it's, again, almost anything is possible with Jerry. And Deion has a Cowboy connection. I think Jerry has spoken highly of him as a head coach in this small part of Deion's life. And we know, I don't mean to question Deion's loyalty, but I don't think he's at Colorado for the rest of his life. So we all assume he's going to do something else, whether it's go up a ladder in college football if the Buffs go well, or be lured to the NFL. And we know Shador's going to be a pro at some point soon.
Right. Is that Gators job going to open?
Right. So it's all this crazy loose end that could come together in a strange way in Dallas. It is less than 1% of the possibilities here. Them just transitioning to Trey Lance is a far more conceivable thing, but not having deals done with Dak and CeeDee Lamb, while every day could potentially cost you more money.
Yeah,
they're letting our minds run wild because they won't tie up these two loose ends.
Yeah, it's a fair point. So this is like actually where a place where the preseason is going to matter. There's like two things I think where the preseason is actually going to matter. We talked a little bit about it yesterday about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the fact that Justin Fields is going to get an opportunity with Russ still working on that calf. And then I think Trey Lance is going to get a major shot here in the preseason because Dak doesn't need to do preseason.
No.
Cooper Rush doesn't need to do preseason. It's
Cooper.
Really about Trey Lance. And so they're 4:30 Eastern time on Sunday, Cowboys-Rams in LA. And I think there's a lot riding on this for him.
Whether it's there or somewhere else, right? I mean, if he plays well and Dallas figures things out with Dak, then Trey Lance could become a trade chip.
Another one?
A team that needs a quarterback.
Village bicycle.
Yeah, but I mean, if someone's gonna need a quarterback who might not end up in a place to draft them. So, what about Trey Lance? There's no tread on those tires. He's still young and athletic. I'll think that Mike McCarthy worked out some of the kinks that apparently were an issue in San Francisco. I'll take a flyer on that.
855-212-4227. Would love to hear from the Cowboys fans on this one. Jerry talking nonsense now. No urgency to get the deal done with CeeDee Lamb. So meanwhile, he's held out to the tune of $1 million already. And I know they can forgive the fines because he's still on a rookie deal. But clock's ticking here. We got preseason game number 1. I know Cowboys fans did this with Emmitt Smith, but man, the vibes were quite different before Emmitt's holdout and during Emmitt's holdout that lasted 2 games into the season than they are now. This feels like, you don't have the benefit of the doubt of already having 2 Lombardi trophies in the case.
And I don't mind missing reps in the offense for CeeDee Lamb. It just still feels like, and maybe by now the numbers don't bear this out, but it just feels like when skill position players hold out, some leg muscle gives out within 10 days of them coming back. The longer you hold out, the more likely
don't say that.
a quad or a calf or a groin goes. That's the stuff I think that you miss when you're not around, is just being athletic with a chance to build up towards week 1. When you're thrown right back in the fire after a holdout, it just feels like the chances of you hurting a leg goes through the roof.
855-212-4227. Oh, man. All right, Cowboy fans, how you feeling now with this latest twist and turn? Jerry's just cackling like a... It's like, again, everyone's laughing. What are you laughing about? This is literally costing you money every day.
And they're not laughing at him. They're laughing, like, with him, like, awkwardly, like, what do we do? What do we say?
Do you remember the scene in Austin Powers when they have all the evil people around? So it's like Dr. Evil.
I don't have a sense of urgency about getting it done.
You're so crazy, old man.
It's a long-standing tradition.
And just like the laughter grows and grows, and then finally the camera stays on them in Austin Powers, and they're like,
Any reason you want. I was at Nobu 2 days ago. Give that as a reason.
You know, and I feel...
It's a long-standing tradition.
Would you be surprised if Jerry asked about putting lasers on sharks at one point?
Yeah.
All in.
And then he misuses air quotes? Like, you'd think... Like, those are Jerry moves.
Sharks with laser beams on their head.
Spanking himself.
Fucking lasers.
855-212-4227. I could also see Jerry putting a pinky finger up to the corner of his mouth going, we'll sign CeeDee Lamb for $1 million.
When you're general manager, of which I am.
Hey, Dad, it's not 1974 anymore.
Gonna take a little bit more than $1 million. 855-212-4227. Okay, can I get personal coming up next? I got to let you guys in on something that's going on in my private life because...
Here it comes.
I got some news yesterday about something going on in my personal life. And if you could have given me 1,000 guesses, I would have never landed on this. Ever. And I'm wondering if anyone out there has had anything similar happen to them. I could get impregnated by a Raising Cane's lunch order. Well, that was it. 855-212-4227.
I've already guessed
Brilliant,
it.
Pete. No, something else. Raising Cane's doesn't open for another 2 hours.
Oh, come on.
Okay, we'll get to what is going on in my personal life because I might need some help with this one. It sounds a little wacky. Get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break.
This is Phil Simms.
4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining.
Jerry.
One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Personal story that I'm going to share. Something's going on in my personal life, and I couldn't have seen this coming yesterday, and I'm curious if it's ever happened to anyone else. But first, we go to Brian, who's in Arkansas, wants to weigh in on Jerry Jones now saying there is no urgency to sign CeeDee Lamb. Brian, is your head spinning as a Cowboy fan?
It's been spinning on all off season, so yeah, no, that's hasn't really changed. This is Jerry Jones, guys. I mean, remember about, I'd say 5-10 years ago, we were doing good and then we lost, and one of the reporters asked him in front of the locker room what he thought about the loss. He said, well, we're still selling out and we're still got people talking, so we're doing okay. And that's his mindset. As long as everybody keeps talking about us and mentioning the Cowboys, I think he's okay with this because honestly, I'm ready for Trey Lance. Nothing against Dak. I think he's a great guy, but I think in the current system, I think he would do a lot better elsewhere. But we're going to hold on to him and not pay. CD, Jerry has in his head that you're a Cowboys player, so you should be grateful to be a Cowboys player.
Yep.
And he doesn't understand that mindset is no longer what's going on. These are Gen Z kids, and they're all like, hey, we're here to do our job, and we want to get paid. Yeah, if I got to swap jobs, I'm going to swap jobs. And so Jerry's kind of not catching up. Now, is he senile? Possibly. But truthfully, Jerry is about being in the news.
Yep.
And he is in the news with this. If he makes a decision, then he gets out of the limelight. And I think that's what he wants to stay at. I'd rather trade CD and trade Micah and start over because, you know what? This group, like y'all are saying, this group has run its course, and we obviously can't win with a healthy and younger Zeke. And I know for sure now with Zeke being like he is, and again, nothing against Zeke, I love him to death, but Zeke is not RB1.
No.
Okay, maybe a number 2, okay, on third downs, but what do we have behind him? We have no names who are definitely not the type of speedster we need. He didn't do anything now season to upgrade the team to do better than get our butts handed to us in Green Bay. I don't place all the blame on Mike, because everybody's like, well, it's Mike. I think Mike's a good coach. I think the problem is we just don't give Mike the right tools to work with.
Yeah. You know, Brian, it's been an excellent call. I'm with you on like 99% of everything you said, except for I don't think they should trade CD and Micah. I think those guys are core pieces. But I'm with you on everything else. It's a solid call. Thank you for making it. And you and I are 100%, Brian, that is, 100% in lockstep about whether or not Jerry actually wants to win. And Perloff and I argue about this on the show, off the show. We text thread, on the phone. We argue about this all the time about whether Jerry wants to win. Perloff will say it's the only thing he wants. Jerry only wants to win. And I think he doesn't. I think he's got everything he wants. We hang on his every word, even when it makes no sense. He's selling out. They were bragging about the season ticket renewals even after they got their butts handed to them by the Packers. Jerry's in the Hall of Fame. You know, he's buried the hatchet with Jimmy Johnson. There's, Perloff thinks, he walks in these owners' rooms and you think he wants to see Clark Hunt or whatever, rubbing his nose in at the Chiefs owner, that he hasn't won. I think Jerry's still the most powerful owner. I think he walks around like he's presiding over the Chiefs when he's not, because I think in his mind, he runs the league, and he might.
Can you both be right on this? Because, he loves being Jerry Jones. He loves being the owner of the Cowboys.
Sure.
And he loves all the things that come with that, including training camp in Oxnard and all those microphones in his face 2 days after being at Nobu.
Right.
But I do think he wants to win. I think the bigger problem is he doesn't know how to win. He does not know that the antics are preventing them from winning.
Well, he'll say 12-win season after 12-win season, and we've built a good team here. And I think he's right. They have built a good team, but they are obviously missing that extra thing. Whatever that is, when the postseason happens, you've just seen so much more bad than good. And games that they got blown out, games that have been winnable games that have come down to late game execution, they've lost in every which way you can lose.
Yeah.
And
right, they never just lose. It's always in an embarrassing way or a notable way. And because I'm super cool and hip and up on the times, Maggie, as you know so well, I'm only now finishing The Crown on Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's this, not to be a spoiler, but the series ends with Queen Elizabeth debating whether she needs to step aside and let Charles become king. And this is 2005, 2006.
Wow. What did she decide?
Well, yeah. So, spoiler, she didn't. She
stayed in power for another 20 years. Not power, whatever, figurehead.
So, but aside from the accents and the prim and proper nature of it, this is the Cowboy dynamic, because Jerry is the king, and Steven's sitting there not letting him draft Johnny Manziel. And
Jerry,
yesterday he's walking back the CeeDee Lamb comments, we want to get this done. We need him here. We understand why he's not here. He's probably begging his dad to go, hey, just let me run the whole dang thing.
Yeah.
Let me actually, you can do whatever you want, shake hands, kiss babies, but let me just be actually in charge. And his dad is not going to give up until, while he physically can, he's going to be in charge of that whole thing and prevent them from being as good as they should be.
And you should see Queen Elizabeth when she gets into the Johnny Walker Blue. Whoa. Really lets her
doctor.
Hair down.
Yeah. They got to kick her out of Nobu. She didn't stop eating the sushi.
They never told you that in all those documentaries. Queen Elizabeth partying her face off. No, may she rest in peace. Can I also tell you guys a little bit about what's going on in my personal life? Because I'm curious if anyone has ever encountered this before. I've never seen anything like this. It feels like something that was a little bit out of a movie. And I found out this news yesterday. So go home after the show, and my husband is there, and he was working from home, and he's like, I just got a call from our realtor. Now, not to get too in the weeds here, but during COVID, when a lot of people had to change up their situation, we had to do the same, where we have an apartment in New York City, and then we moved to the suburbs of New Jersey, and that's where we live now. So we've had this apartment with renters in it who have been lovely. They've been phenomenal. And they're excellent. They take care of our place. They pay on time. They're the best renters you could possibly have. But now, Bogus, it's time for us to sell the apartment, right? And so everyone's on the same page. We're trying to sell the apartment. Don't get me started on the interest rates and all that. I get it, but it's just time for us to sell. So we have a lovely broker who's been helping us. We thought we had somebody on the hook to buy the apartment, right? We had 2 people. They both wanted it. And we thought, all right, great. We get a little bidding war going.
Yeah,
this
let's
would
go.
be fantastic. We can unload the apartment. Maybe this happens before the end of the year. All of a sudden, because of circumstances, it looks like it's not going to happen. So she calls my husband yesterday, and she's like, I have an idea. We've got to bring someone into the apartment to clear the energy.
Ooh.
I'm like, what? Yes, she wants to bring someone in who's a friend of hers who's going to charge, and she said she'll pay for it, to come in and sort of, in a mystical kind of way, sort of cleanse the apartment, to sort of start over in like the vibe, like reset the vibes, to hopefully attract new bidders.
So the renters are gone?
No, they're there.
Okay, so
and they're great.
But is she clearing their energy?
I don't know. I'm like, is this a Kyrie Irving like burning sage at the in Boston thing?
I say you're fired.
No, but I mean, she's a great.
Ridiculous.
She's been a good realtor, and she's paying for it. So what do we care?
Yeah, but
you're gonna come in and rub some crystals on the wall, or I don't know what she's gonna do.
That's not gonna do anything.
I mean, she's gonna like sacrifice a lamb in there. We go an Old Testament on this thing. I have no idea.
Just pull what they did in Major League. Pull what they did in Major League. Bring in a bucket of chicken instead of sacrificing a live chicken.
The garden snake.
Yeah.
I make it the sign of the cross. I don't know what she's gonna do, but my husband was like, sure. And I said, if this works and all of a sudden somebody does come in and we do get to offload the apartment and like this cleansing of the vibes like worked, and we should probably offer to reimburse her for the mystic, right?
Oh,
like a shaman?
That's what it is.
Absolutely not.
She's trying to get more dollars out of this whole thing.
Well, he didn't offer that. We were just spitballing because, like, you could have given me 1,000 guesses. I thought she was going to say, let's just drop the price, like, 10 grand or 20 grand or whatever. We're trying to, bringing in a shaman to cleanse the apartment of the bad juju because the deal fell through.
How long has it been on the market?
A couple months.
Pete, I know your history. Don't pretend that you're Ryan Serhant and you know how to handle real estate here.
Listen,
you're watching on Netflix
either.
these days.
I'm not pretending that I'm some real estate person, but yeah, it's a couple months in New York. That's a long time. Usually things kind of tend to go a little fast, but maybe not. It's a tough time here in the city.
It's a female woman?
Yeah.
So if she wants to pay for it, let her do it.
She's also Japanese, so I'm thinking maybe is this like an Eastern thing? Is this just her? Like
a little feng shui kind of situation, maybe?
I don't know about that. It's just like, it's a little woo-woo, which I don't know much about Japanese culture and customs. I don't know, but she wants to do it, so we're letting her do it.
If it's on her credit card, go for it.
Right.
Like, this is the same thing as like, oh, we're going to, put in fake furniture or like rearrange things, like have a different like.
You think that's the same as that?
Well, does any of it actually matter? Like on all these shows, like, oh, we're gonna stage this room and do that, and then someone comes in and buys it no matter what. Like, so let her do it. It doesn't matter. There's no sweat off your back.
So the people who are living there now, who are renting from us, I'm talking about. My husband and I were trying to sell our apartment in New York because we're never going to move back to New York City. We live in New Jersey now, and our broker wants to bring in someone to clear the vibes. In a mystic, a shaman, I don't know what else you'd call it. Someone's going to come in to sort of sage the place or do whatever because a deal that we had just fell through and she thinks there's bad juju. The people who are in there now, like, are a couple with a baby, or like a 3-year-old at this point. What are they going to do? Like, again, are they sacrificing a chicken there? I don't know what's going on.
I would go to another agent.
We've been with her for a while, though. We like her.
Well,
very positive person.
Do you think she priced it wrong?
I think we're taking care of that because people did get interested. So
okay, all right, so it's not that.
It's not that.
It's just getting people in the place.
Whenever you guys see this, have you ever seen this where a house goes on the market? And then someone buys it, and then it very quickly goes on the market again, like within a year or something.
There's
I
a murder
always
there.
assume, the house was haunted.
Flip.
Something you would have never known, right, without like major reconstruction. something you would never know except if you live there and you're being woken up in the middle of the night because like some little girl ghost in a nightgown is like at the foot of your bed. Hello, Margaret. Mommy? But like that I understand you want to sage the place. Nothing bad has ever happened in our apartment.
That you know of.
Well, I mean, I think we know.
We weren't the original tenants.
No, but it was renovated right before we moved in.
Listen, construction doesn't take care of bad mojo.
But I lived there for 4 years, and
But again, you didn't build it. People lived there before you, right?
But if it was haunted, wouldn't they haunt me and my husband?
Sometimes it takes a little bit.
Ghosts weren't comfortable with us.
They figured out like
they didn't like the cut of our jib.
She's got no emotions.
I have one emotion: scared. I would be very scared.
They could have been a bunch of 1979 Mets living there, a bunch of loser energy. You never know.
Oh my gosh, I never thought of that.
It can happen.
When you say yes to this,
already said yes.
Okay, since you've said yes to it. Can we send Kaplan to film whatever ceremony is about to happen?
Fair. I mean, it's a little far for him. He'd have to be on the train for a while, but sure. If he's up for it.
If you're going to do this ridiculous thing, do it. And if it doesn't, you don't get any movement, you got to then move on to another agent.
I don't know. I kind of like the outside the box thinking. Yeah, EJ.
I don't know how you don't see what's happening, Maggie.
What?
Your agent is trying to deflect from their failure.
Exactly.
It's very clear. She's like, well, I couldn't get this deal. There's no chance it was my fault. Don't blame me. Please don't fire me. What has to be done
is the vibes.
The vibes have to be cleansed out. Meanwhile, there's people living in your apartment who are fine, decent people.
Yeah,
like,
they are.
If I was living
They're
in that
lawyers.
apartment, I rent an apartment now in New York City, and they said I had to move and they had to sell it or whatever. And like some person came in and said, yeah, we're cleansing the apartment because of the vibes in here. I don't know what I would do. I mean, if it's a woman, I might have Andrea have to carry that smoke. If it was a man, there may be a fight. What do you mean the vibes are off? I've done nothing wrong here. I've paid rent.
Ooh.
I've been a good tenant.
Think we're offending
Don't blame
them?
me for your failures. You can't sell the place. That's your fault.
Exactly.
I didn't even
MJ's
think about
right.
offending our renters.
You know what the problem is? You brought in the wrong person to cleanse the bad vibes. You got to bring in Kyrie Irving to do it.
Yeah, Kyrie's not going to 7 foot in my apartment. That'd be an upset.
So this person thinks they can bring in a bunch of mimes to come in there and
Mimes?
and do the box thing or whatever they want to do, and you're gonna sell the apartment. That's totally ridiculous. I think you're wasting time. I think just go and find another agent. Go get you'll get Ryan Serhan. He'll do it. He'll sell it in a day.
Slightly under his pay grade.
Yeah.
And he's doing 36,000 square feet. Can I offer you 1,000 square feet?
But he has a bunch of agents that could probably help you.
There's got to be a junior agent there that needs this first sale. The only thing that EJ was right about is that you do run the risk of making your tenants feel like they're the ones creating the bad mojo.
Honestly, and they've been great. Although Big Bad John's on the chat said maybe the renters are sabotaging the deal. I don't think so. They're very cool.
Too bad they don't want to buy it.
They can't afford it.
Right.
It's like a Step Brothers kind of deal. They walk in with these got the wrapped up like he just died from the asbestos. Just died last night.
I do love our renters. I do not want to. They're good people. I don't want to offend them. I didn't think about that. Pat, take it away while I call my husband.
Sure.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
2 NFL preseason games last night. If you're a degenerate, by the way, and then you're into betting those, the unders on both games, easy,
Talking
cash.
to yourself?
Yes. Okay.
You saw the rain. It was like that was a slam dunk.
Yes, even though they both were in the low 30s. Giants beat the Lions 14-3. Most starters from both teams did not play. Giants rookie receiver, the number 6 pick, Malik Neighbors, did. Only a few series. Couldn't even get Drew Lock to throw him the football. Patriots beat the Panthers 17-3. DrakeMaye just 1 series, threw the ball 3 times. And you mentioned last hour, Patriots fans booing Bailey Zappi when he came in. Joe Milton, 54 passing yards and a tud, 22 yards on the ground.
Nope.
What?
I think I can speak for Maggie and Perloff. It's not a tud. It's not a tuddy. It's a touchdown. Come on. Let's go.
Oh, that's a bogus thing. I have no problem with that.
Stop gatekeeping on my football terminology, Bogish.
And a tud.
This is a pet peeve because Bogish has a certain way of doing updates.
I had Carlos Ortiz yelling at me for tuddy. Now I got you yelling at me for tud.
There are standards.
What's touchdown?
Full
Tud?
words.
TD. So if
Yeah.
I said TD, you're okay with that. But if
Yeah.
I say Tud, you got a problem.
As long as you don't say TTs, then we're fine. Sorry.
Well, we played a clip last hour of Patriots' new head coach Gerard Mayo addressing sports talk radio rumors about 6th-round draft pick Joe Milton gunning for DrakeMaye's job. Well, elsewhere, there doesn't seem to be any QB controversy in Cleveland, at least not yet, but man, add another nugget of gold into Jameis Winston's bag of quotes. He's now Deshaun Watson's backup for the Browns, and Jameis was asked about Deshaun Watson yesterday, all the pressure and criticism that continues to surround him. And Jameis, in defending the starting QB, had this to say.
A lot of people forget when you can go out, you can see practice, you can knick-knack, this, that, patty whack, give a dog a bone. Deshaun Watson is going to turn it on. He always going to find a way to shine when the lights come on.
I mean, what are we doing?
No, I love that. That's great.
Yeah, he knew he was spitting when he dropped that because this was immediately after the greatest philosopher of our generation. He dropped another timeless bar.
Man, I just rhymed. Oh my, can I leave off that one? I know that one going to hit.
So, yeah, they're having fun with Jameis in Cleveland. And, man,
It's the weirdest thing because there's just so much with Jameis, you know? It's like everywhere he goes, people love him. He's got all this stuff in his past, though, that makes it kind of like, oh, how fun is this really? You know, he's just shown a lack of maturity in other parts of his life. But I think I get why they have him. Okay, think about the Browns. You couldn't have Joe Flacco still be there because they were worried it would mess with Deshaun Watson's mind, even though Watson has the most guaranteed money ever for a quarterback ever and reset the sport, basically. But you can't have Flacco there because it's too much of a breathing down the neck of Watson, or you're worried that the fan base is going to be split or whatever.
Woof, woof.
You bring in Winston is like the ultimate hype man. He's got to be so positive for Watson.
Yeah, it's completely non-threatening backup quarterback.
Yeah. Well, not even non-threatening. Like, he's just totally okay with being the backup at this point.
Yeah.
Even though, again, I was looking up a couple weeks ago because I was doing some football trivia with my nephews. Jameis Winston's got one of the top 10 highest passing yards in a single season of all time.
Yeah, how many interceptions did he throw that year?
Yeah, probably it was like 30. It was like 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions with Tampa Bay. But still, like, this. Every beat writer in Cleveland's going to be pushing Jameis propaganda if Deshaun Watson plays like he did last year.
Yeah.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
And
Woof, woof.
It's a lot of ifs.
This is your team, right, Pat? Sorry.
No, not anymore. I'm no longer a Browns fan.
Because of Watson?
Well, yes, and working here in New York, having to, follow everything that goes on with the Giants and the Jets over the last several years. The reason I became a Browns fan was because of my fanboy, 12-year-old weird fanboyism of Brady Quinn. So when the Browns drafted him.
Everything comes back to Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah. Everything.
I'm sorry, Bogus. I interrupted you.
I was going to say, you can't negate everything that happened at Florida State, and then it's easy to say, I wish he was a better player in the NFL. But if he was a better player in the NFL with that personality,
oh my gosh,
he'd be a megastar.
Absolutely. And he's like a borderline starter anyway, I think it shows you, listen, he's good for the vibes and maybe good for the locker room, but it tells you everything you need to know about the confidence level that the team has in Deshaun Watson, which is slim to none. I mean, the only other high-end backup they could have brought in would have been Gardner Minshew or someone like that who can obviously play. It tells you a lot. And I think if Watson is bad this year, they're looking for another quarterback after this season. Hold everything else till next hour. We'll get to that coming up. Man, we've got to get to one of the stories from yesterday that made no sense. We'll do that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
If you're Pedro Grifol today, I mean, do you thank the organization for finally just putting you out of your misery? This is the manager of the White Sox, who have been on multiple losing streaks this year. Bogus, 21 losses in a row. I guess firing him after the 10th, 11th, 15th, 19th, 20th loss. No, they had to wait for the streak to be over. Then they lost another game. They finally won. Then they lost another game. They're like, we've had it. This was apparently the straw that broke the camel's back, is after 21 losses, then a win, then a loss, then Grifol's got to go.
Yeah, I think the calendar might have screwed him here. The off day is a good day to fire a manager, and they did not play a game yesterday.
Got it.
I'm just still bummed that we didn't get the possibility of them today at home setting the all-time losing streak record and then having post-game fireworks.
Against the Cubs.
I needed that to happen. We lost that possibility on Tuesday.
I'm sorry for you.
And we brought this up. Like there's two schools of thought in Chicago. Either one, make him finish this season and sit in this and eat it.
Yeah.
Or get rid of him to show that you kind of care about being 60 games under 500.
If I'm Grady Sizemore, who's now taking over, tough spot. I mean, is this an option where you can just say no thanks? Like this happens sometimes in the NFL where they'll fire the coach and then they'll want an assistant and they'll say, I don't want this on my resume.
Yeah.
Like it will ruin me for my next interview or for my permanent coaching record or whatever.
I don't know if Grady appreciates this, but he was one of my favorite players because, I mean, there was a window where he was as good as anybody in the game.
Yeah,
definitely.
I put him in a lineup now.
Yeah. And
he looks different. A little smaller.
I don't know. I didn't know he was in their organization at all until yesterday. But when I saw it, I was like, oh, Grady Sizemore, good player. Memory Lane was telling Jake about him. Like, so he's got a little uptick in notoriety again by people remembering that he exists. And now he's an interim manager in Chicago. God bless him.
Yeah, I mean, congrats. You're going to lose, another 20 games in a row?
Maybe not, Maggie. Maybe this was all Pedro Grifal's fault, and they're going to roll to 50 games under 500 by the end of the season.
This is not what I would have done as a general manager.
What would you have done? Not sure?
I would have hired, this is what I would have done. I would have hired Buck Showalter as a special assistant and then made him the manager for the rest of the year to clean up the clubhouse.
What about Don Mattingly? Maybe you could have done with Mattingly.
Then in the offseason, I would move Showalter back to special assistant in the front office.
Okay.
And we would hire a manager.
All right. Well, that's one.
It's shocking they haven't hired you.
I know it's one spot you need. But here's the thing:
do now.
They brought Tony La Russa back. Who La Russa? I get it. He was like way over past the his better days were already behind him. But to bring in the veteran person to try to bring stability to the clubhouse, they did try that too, and it wasn't awesome. Better than this, 28-89, and
Gross. Now
you decide to fire your manager. Like at this point, it's August 9th. Like just let him finish out the year. If you're really trying to get a good look at Grady Sizemore and see what he has to show, he's not going to show you anything. This roster is not good enough, and the guys are not motivated enough, and every single aspect of the organization, Bogus has clearly failed. I mean, I don't get it.
I'm surprised ownership didn't clean everything out.
They did.
They might.
Two other guys got fired yesterday. The assistant hitting coach.
Yeah, it's his fault.
And somebody else. Not the head guy. The assistant guy got the can.
Yeah.
I always wonder what the assistant hitting coach says. It's like, hey, eye on it.
Didn't fast forward the video enough?
What'd you say, Pete?
Didn't fast forward the video enough?
Man, what a dumpster fire that is. Would you have said yes if you were Grady Sizemore? Bogus?
Yeah. For 2 months of reminding people I'm out there, yeah.
Do you think that he gets a bump in pay?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You know how sometimes they do this where it's like, we're giving you a promotion in name only. That happens in the corporate world.
Yeah, that's a big HR thing. You go from like director to this, whatever. But like, you get a little bit. He's not getting paid like an actual manager, but he'll get a little extra stipend for these 2 months.
Lucky him.
A little bump in his per diem.
Great.
Again, I'm still available.
Yeah.
First year free. Then you got to pay me.
First year free? Yeah. Why are you giving away the goods? You just gave him all that Buck Showalter stuff for free.
You got to sign me to a 3-year contract. First year is free. You pay me the next 2 years.
I mean,
you're gonna need Maggie's realtor to figure out how to pay for a place in Chicago with no salary, Pete.
To be honest, my broker for our apartment wants to bring in like a shaman to clear the vibes in our apartment because a deal just fell through. I mean, bring the shaman to the clubhouse. This is long overdue. The White Sox clubhouse should have been cleansed months ago.
You might need a bunch of guys chanting in that clubhouse.
Robes on, chanting.
That's right.
Holding crystals, whatever it takes.
Everything.
Yeah, EJ.
Polls.
I think you should go to Jerry Reinsdorf and make a trade. You should say, I will trade you my realtor who is an expert in vibes.
Yeah.
For your probably $1 million realtor who actually sells apartments and gets things done. Because you need vibes and I need to sell his apartment. I think that's a win-win for everybody.
Man, I hope it doesn't take a billionaire's broker to sell our apartment. Say what you want about Reinsdorf. He's like probably one of the most successful people maybe in the history of this country. I hope I don't need that level of help.
He definitely needs your realtor because the vibes there stink.
Yeah, what do you do? I'm a little worried she is going to sacrifice some kind of live animal. Think that would be. I think that's a violation of the fine print of the co-op rules. I think that's
why
Section E, paragraph 10. You shall not sacrifice any living creatures to cleanse the vibes of your apartment in order to sell it.
Here you go, one chicken.
Coming up, we check in with our pal Joe Vardon, who's covering Team USA in Paris.
Scrolling through the tube, watching Maggie and Perloff, getting in the groove. Found a viewer in the chat, his name's Delta 9 Brian. Spitting fire comments, he's the #1 fan. Got his fingers moving, stepping non-stop, dropping all the knowledge, never gonna flop. Talking about Brian, he's the king of the chat. With his love for the show, there ain't no doubt. Every episode, he's always in the mix, leaving comments for the host, he's got the tricks. Talking about Brian, he's a YouTube star. With his quick comments, he'll take it far. I've been sitting in my room, scrolling through the tube, watching Maggie and Perloff, getting in the groove. Found a viewer in the chat, his name's Delta 9 Brian. Spitting fire comments, he's the #1 fan. Every episode, he's always in the mix, leaving comments for the host, he's got the tricks. Talking about Brian, he's a YouTube star. With his quick comments, he'll sitting in my room, scrolling through the tube, watching Maggie and Perloff, getting in the groove. Found a viewer in the chat, his name's Delta 9 Brian. Spitting fire comments, he's the #1 fan. Got his fingers moving, stepping non-stop, dropping all the knowledge, never gonna flop. Talking about Brian, he's the king of the chat. With his love for the show, there ain't no doubt. Every episode, he's always in the mix, leaving comments for the host, he's got the tricks. Andrew Bogush, lost in the fog of golf. Bogush can't see his way, people out his voice in his ears. Every day, Tom Brady's glory, it's all too much. Andrew Bogush needs a break. Bogush has had enough of Pete. Freedom from Bilotti, that's what Bogush needs. People he won't leave alone, his voice keeps ringing in his headphones like a drone. Oh, get out of Bogush's head, Bilotti, can't you see? Bogush trying to be free in the sea of noise, let Bogush find his peace. Oh, get out of Bogush's head, Bilotti.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Thrilling was a way to describe it. Just one adjective of what happened with Team USA yesterday and how they came back from 17 down. Was it 13 down in the fourth quarter, Bogish, to start? Yep. It looked dicey. Team USA was on the ropes, and it took our greatest of the greatest, the elite of the elite on that squad of LeBron James, Steph Curry, Joel Embiid, Kevin Durant, and Devin Booker to bring it home for Team USA. They beat Serbia by a fingernail. Now they move on to the gold medal game where they will face France and Victor Wembanyama. And Joe Vardon is a basketball writer for The Athletic. He's boots on the ground in France, in Paris. He's been following Team USA for weeks now. Bonjour, Joe. How are you? And if you could just describe what it was like to watch that in person yesterday, what are some of the lasting images that you'll take with you forever?
Well, hi, Maggie. It's wonderful to see you again. And thanks for having me on here from Paris. A lot has changed since I was home last. We don't need to get into it, but it was been doing this since July 5th. Presidential election looked totally different. Wow. So on and so forth. Last night, let's see, I've been doing this, covering Team USA for 5 years, which includes the gold medal win over France in the Tokyo Games. And of course, this is the best game and greatest moment that I have seen or experienced on this beat. And I believe that it's going to go down as one of the very greatest moments in USA basketball history, in part because I do think they will win tomorrow night. I do think they will beat France, which would make this all hold up. But to have 4 MVPs on the floor in a game where you were not only down, but you were being controlled for most of it, and to have these 4 guys with no margin for error rescue the team and win like that in an era when we're learning something else about basketball and about international basketball, which is the United States will no longer be able to just flood the court with talent and guarantee itself a gold. Serbia, with one great player, Nikola Jokic, one really good player in Bogdan Bogdanovic, and then several competent role players who are really good in the European League. They had enough to beat the U.S. last night. And so as we all understand that this is going to become the norm, how good these other countries are, for the pressure and the demands that are on a team like this U.S. team, for them to do what they did, is certainly something that just needs to be celebrated by any U.S. basketball fan for a long time.
Joe, how do we, if we're making a top 10 Steph Curry moment list or LeBron or Joel Embiid, how do we put that game in the context of their NBA accomplishments?
Well, it's funny because we just asked Joel that, and he kind of shrugged it off. But this is his great. I mean, he hasn't won anything in the NBA and hasn't really gotten close. So this is a huge moment for his career. Curry is putting this in the perspective of the Olympics. He's of course done a ton in the NBA, and he's won 4 titles and has 2 MVPs. And so he referenced his game 6 against Boston in the 22 finals, having never been a finals MVP. He goes in there, hostile environment, he scores 32. But he was talking about how like he's thought that the Paris games were his one chance to win an Olympic medal. But the best answer on this so far, I think, has come from LeBron, who, like Steph, has done just about everything, has this storied career. But LeBron offered this last night. He said he's old and he doesn't know how many chances he has left to win something big, which I think is it's an admission of the challenges that the Lakers face. Like, he's not saying they're never going to win, but he's acknowledging that the West is tough and that team is what it is. And then also just like, this is probably his last Olympics, and add those two together and like a career based on winning, he's almost out of chances. And that's why this matters so much to him.
Joe Vardon joining us. Of course, he's a basketball writer for The Athletic, does a fantastic job, and is joining us from Paris, where he's been following Team USA for over a month now and been covering the team, as you said, for the last 5 years. Could you also say the same, that sort of last chance to win something big, Joe, not just for LeBron, but also for Steph and also for KD, if we're being honest with ourselves?
Absolutely. And I presented it to Steph, Maggie, this exact way. And I said to him, like, it's hard if you're a reporter to go up to a Steph Curry and say, hey, the Warriors dynasty's over. You guys are done.
Yeah, pack it in. Yeah.
Yeah. But like LeBron sort of speaking to this on his own, I think does open this up, which is like, hey, Steph Curry played for the last dynasty. He is the chief architect of the last dynasty. But that dynasty's probably over. And he wants to stay at Golden State for the rest of his career, which is awesome. But, he's 36 years old. And, like, to quote him, you never say never, but it's hard to imagine. And then, Durant, the Suns have a lot of talent on that team. Maybe they figure it out under Coach Bud. But, he's aging as well. And like, you just have these players who, I put this in the story that's on the websites now, that like, this was authored by these faces of an NBA generation. Maybe not the greatest era in our league's history, but certainly up there with what LeBron has done as the all-time leading scorer and all the things he accomplished in these three cities. And the Curry Warriors and Durant, like, their sun is setting. And so when they got together, they wanted to call this like a last dance of sorts. And it has been one hell of a dance.
Joe, I have almost nothing in common with Steve Kerr, but I found myself wondering where Jason Tatum was in this game yesterday, especially when they needed something to get back into the game. How does a game like that play out and Jason Tatum doesn't get off the bench?
Well, I think that Steve addressed this today, and he's talking about it's not something that Jason has done, that it's more about getting what they are looking for from other players. He just basically said it's not what Jason hasn't done, it's what players X, Y, and Z have done. But Kerr basically, he rode a few guys last night. Like, it was Steph, it was LeBron, it was Durant, it was Devin Booker, who, if we want to talk about this, about Tatum, Booker has elbowed him out. Booker has done the things that are missing when you have these other guys on the floor. I don't know if Tatum can't do those things defensively, but he's just a different fit. And so when you have a Kevin Durant in the mix and you already have LeBron playing point forward, when you have Booker and Tatum on the roster with all those other guys, someone's not going to get to play. And it has come down to Tatum. France has a totally different roster than what Serbia has and the way they play. So maybe they make some changes. Steve pointed out that their bench was not good, the Americans' bench. So maybe, but this is something that's it happens when you have a team that's this deep, and we forget that, like, we think about the dream team and we think about this team. The 96 team was loaded like this, like those two teams. But as we start moving down the line after that, USA basketball for every Olympics has been built with some superstars and then some role players, some guys who be all right with not playing for a few games. Tatum's not that guy, and neither is Tyrese Halliburton, but that's the situation they find themselves in. Like, Steve has to make a choice on which 8 to 10 guys he wants to play. That's it.
Joe Vardon's joining us. He's in Paris. He writes for The Athletic and covers the NBA, and he's been with Team USA for over a month. I'm sure even being in a cool place like Paris, Joe, you're probably itching to get home at this point. I mean, there's only so much foie gras someone can eat in a short amount of time. This is always something that never really makes a lot of sense to people like me. You're Kevin Durant, right? You just had an all-time game. They couldn't have won without him yesterday. Everyone had to play their part, and his defense was unreal, and he was a huge part of it. Then he goes on social media. To all you Nuggets fans, no one gives a bleep who y'all lames believe is the best player in the league. Players got major respect for Jokic. We don't worship him like y'all do, but most are in awe of his brilliance. Trolling you cornballs for rooting against us is part of the game. Is he can he ever be happy? What do we take from this? I know he loves going back and forth with the fans. Like, you just had an all-time moment, and what do you even make of this, or do you not make anything of it?
Yeah, I mean, I would, like, I try to stay as far away from social media as I can. I sometimes wish these guys would too, but I like, we could speak about some of Kevin's personality traits, or we could blame this on Simone Biles, who Kevin has said really inspired him this week when he went to go see her perform the other night. Really inspiring stuff, because she has inspired him to continue tweeting. He actually said that.
Oh, no.
So, I think, he's just living up to his inspiration there with Simone after one of the greatest games ever, hopping on social media and throwing a few elbows.
Yeah, and he's on a heater. There's a lot of tweets this morning, and he makes valid points criticizing us in the media, the NBA, fans. I just wish he was not on his phone the morning after a legendary performance.
Time and place. Last one for you, Joe. We'll let you get out of here. I've said that this is sort of the empty the tank season for LeBron. This is kind of my prediction here. I know he just signed a contract extension, but he did what he wanted to do. He got Bronny into the league. Bronny's going to be playing for the Lakers. They're going to get their moment. He got J.J. Redick to be the coach. I mean, LeBron's still pulling the strings. Now it looks like he's going to cap another Olympic gold. Do you think there's a possibility this is his last season? Or, I mean, he's playing amazing. Do you think we still see more and more and more from LeBron?
I want to answer your question a different way, which is what we have seen from him over these 4 weeks of games has been, it's almost hard to describe, because he doesn't look like he's 39, and he doesn't look like he did playing for the Lakers last year. He looks like a LeBron from a different era. And it's been so incredible to see this, that part of you thinks about, like, winning tomorrow night and having, like, he wins a third gold medal. Michael only has 2. And for him to have played the way he's played to get them to this point, part of you imagines what that would be like if he just signed off. Because what could he do that's better than this? But the reality is he's going to play with Bronny at least a little bit this season. And I think that he still enjoys some parts of playing in the NBA. I think there's other things that he's gotten tired with. And so I'm not ready to declare him done for like past this coming season with the Lakers. But, if they're not any good, and the novelty of getting to play with Bronny wears off a little bit, and, if there's an injury then you really could get into that. You could get into that discussion. LeBron is so wealthy and has so much ambition for what he wants to do next that he could get a jump on that if he so chose. But he obviously has something left in the tank. And one of, you asked me at the top, like, what's the thing I'll take away from being in the building on Thursday? But really, it's being around this team for the last 5+ weeks and watching the LeBron that I remember when I was covering him in Cleveland, and getting a chance to be around that guy again is the thing I'll take away from this whole experience.
Joe, can't tell you how much we appreciate this. It's one thing for us to watch it on TV. It's another to talk to you as you're sitting courtside. Fantastic. Thank you. We wish you a safe trip home. Enjoy the gold medal game, and we'll talk to you soon.
Look forward to it. Thanks for having me, as always.
Appreciate that. Joe Vardon from The Athletic. You can read his stories up now. It feels like these guys are loving this so much more than the NBA. Like, they kind of love it because it's not the NBA, and I'm sure it's fun to play on this all-star team.
Yeah, I mean, they all like to play basketball, right? And Curry's never done this before, which gives them an extra little bit of motivation. And, I'm surprised that LeBron, as Joe said, has talking today about openly, like, this might be the last big thing for me. Like, that's a big admission just to make, like, in the mirror, let alone out publicly. And because of the short kind of time frame of this, it's allowing them to put so much energy into it. I mean, did LeBron leave the court in the second half last night?
I don't remember him being off the court.
Right.
No.
And now they come back Saturday, and they're going to be in a crazy environment in Paris against France. But like, that to me is going to be fuel for them to shut 20,000 fans up in that building.
I saw a very funny tweet after the fact that the motivation and how Team USA was able to close this out against Serbia last night was somebody got in the huddle and said, if we lose this, they'll forever call you LeBrons. And that would be the motivation. Fun fact, LeBron does have a bronze. He was on that 2004 team in Athens, but nobody talks about that because he barely played.
I mean, I thought a time like somebody was going to die in that game last night, like a Serbian player or staff member. He was going to kill somebody as a message. Like, he was so locked in that second half. And because he's so damn big, he's just running through people. Again, I know he has his limitations, his shortcomings, multiple reasons why you can critique him, dislike him. But I think if you are ignoring this on purpose, you're doing it wrong.
There's always something that happens to me. I'm not sure if it happens to you guys, maybe because we follow all these sports so closely, but when we get towards the end of a season, all of a sudden I start to miss it, like preemptively, even before it's over. Like I get to the end of the baseball season, I start missing baseball already. I want to watch every single last second because I know it's going away. Same thing with football. The same thing happens with basketball. I feel like this is happening a little bit now with LeBron. It's like the end is here, guys. Like, I don't know if it's going to be just this season or he wants us to think it's just this season and this is like a head fake and we're going to get fake retirements and all that stuff. But it's almost like now I want to hold on to it. I want to keep watching him play because it feels like it's going to be gone soon. EJ, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, that's the one thing about this that actually was almost annoying for me, because as awesome as this game was to watch Steph and LeBron turn back the clock, what I saw is what I've been seeing, especially from LeBron, this whole tournament, this whole Olympic run, is this is clearly a player who, on a championship situation, could still compete for a title. Like, to me, I look at LeBron and Steph, and I know Steph obviously very loyal to the Warriors. LeBron, for whatever reason, loves this Lakers situation. I say, hey, there's way more juice in this squeeze. Are you guys getting the most out of it? Like, we saw Simone Biles chase greatness. We've seen Michael Phelps chase greatness when it comes to getting the most gold medals and most medals possible. These guys can still win NBA championships. And I feel like they're kind of, I don't say taking the easy road out here. I know we've blamed guys for jumping from team to team, but the fact that neither guy is really, I think especially Steph, put these guys' feet to the fire and say, hey, get me a championship roster or I'm out, it's a disservice to the league, because what we saw yesterday was awesome. And imagine if you get to see that kind of stuff and that kind of LeBron performance in a championship type situation in the NBA.
I know.
Unfortunately, that's never going to happen because they're on the Warriors and the Lakers. Those teams have no chance, Maggie.
I know, I get it, EJ, but it's like the Warriors did try to get Paul George, who was one of the biggest guys out there, and I don't even think if they did give Paul George, are you guaranteeing yourself a title there? Like, at this point, I think if the season was 5 weeks long,
right,
we'd be able to do this. But I just, at this stage, I don't think it's possible. Let's put a pin in that conversation for a second. We'd love to hear from you at 855-212-4227. Apologize for the corporate speak there. We'll circle back on that.
Get out of your silo, Maggie.
Sorry. Didn't mean to do that. We've got so much more that we have to do, including a retirement that maybe took us by surprise. You're welcome to weigh in on Team USA and what we saw yesterday. Was this the last real true shot at a championship for LeBron and Steph Curry and Kevin Durant? 855-212-4227.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Moist pork so delicious. Fashion icon, always ambitious. Rocking the threads, fresh and clean. Styling on the scene, living the dream. Loves Twitch, not YouTube. Always dancing, never in the mood. Live streaming with 1 million views. Sipping on success and paying his dues. Loves Baltimore, city of his heart. Representing, playing his part. But hates that callers, ain't no doubt. Gotta stay fly, that's what it's about. Goose waves, he's got the road trip blues left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio, can't believe his eyes. But Goose stuck at home, his heartache amplifies. Betting against Wemby, Perloff took the fall, but it's Bogus left behind, feeling 10 feet tall, a loser in his own right. Can't catch a break, road trip dream shattered. For goodness sake, for goodness sake, Bogus cruising highways, hilarity atop San Antonio shining. The city's calling their names, the Bogus sitting home, stuck playing life's cool games. Bogus waves, he's got the road trip blues left behind, feeling
Lost and your Bogus high on display. Road trip blues won't go away.
Bogus weeps, he's got the road trip blues left behind, feeling like he's bound to lose. Perloff's off to San Antonio, can't believe his eyes. But Bogus stuck at home, his heartache amplifies. Betting against Wemby, Perloff took the fall, but it's Bogus left behind, feeling 10 feet tall, a loser in his own right. Can't catch a break, road trip dream shattered. For goodness sake, for goodness sake, Bogus counting the minutes, ticking like a clock, while Perloff's cruising highways, Hilarion tall, San Antonio shining, the city's calling their name.
sweeps.
45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The MNB500 on the Infinity Sports Network.
Yes, normally the M&P 500 for Maggie and Perloff is now the M&B 500 for Maggie and Bogish. Andrew Bogish is in for Andrew Perloff. Okay, end of the week. Stock up, stock down. Bogues, you can start us off. Who had a good week this week?
Stock up, Maggie, for all of the nonsensical Olympic sports. I understand why we play basketball. I get field hockey, volleyball makes sense. But then we get to things like water polo. Like, let's not touch the ground. Let's tread water. Let's beat the crap out of each other and throw a ball into a net in a pool. But the winner, the king of all of this, is the steeplechase. I think I mentioned this to you off the air earlier in the week. I knew it existed. I knew it was bonkers. 2 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, I am enthralled by the men's steeplechase semifinals. Because who thinks, you know what we should do? Let's run 3,000 meters. Along the way, let's throw abnormally large hurdles in the way that the entire group needs to jump over these things. And one of them, get this, guys, you're going to land in water. Because that makes sense. That proves something about your athletic ability, that you can run in slogging shoes. So I don't know why it exists, but I'm thankful that it does, so stock up.
I always think of the Forrest Gump with Lieutenant Dan. It's like, first rule, got to keep your feet dry every time they jump in that thing.
Lieutenant Dan.
You know, later we should have a discussion which of the Olympics has the more nonsensical sports, the winter or the summer. We should get to that. My stock up this week is got to be, I'm not one to shill for drug companies, but man, did Paxlovid get a boost. Noah Lyles is the American who won a bronze medal in the 200. He tested positive for COVID 2 days ago, said he took the Paxlovid and won the bronze. Like, this is the greatest advertisement they could ever had. And again, I'm no drug company shill, but the fact that he name-checked Paxlovid and got out there and competed and took care of most of the field, it's probably the best advertisement this drug could ever have.
All right, so you're anti-Noah Lyles, but pro-Big Pharma?
No.
This is some week for you.
No, I'm not anti-Noah Lyles. I'm anti-saying you're the fastest man on earth when you win the 100 by 5 1,000ths of a second.
But let's go drugs.
Listen, he won the freaking bronze. Clearly this stuff works. Okay, stock down, sir.
I think this is for all of us as a collective group. Stock down for not being in Greece or Italy. Have you guys noticed, like, whether it's fancy, like, social media influencer people or just our friends, everyone is in the Mediterranean right now. Are there deals on flights there? Like, what are we missing that we're here looking at Pete and not Mykonos?
Sorry.
I don't know. If you squint hard enough, Pete could look like some kind of Grecian beauty.
Yeah, you got to put on 4 pairs of glasses for that to happen.
Double pane glass hasn't been cleaned in a while.
No chance.
This is the second year in a row I've noticed that. And maybe it's because we're all extremely online and we should put our phones down and just enjoy the fresh air. But I have noticed a lot of influencers in Greece and Italy. So good for them.
Isn't it? I mean, it's hotter there than it is here. It's not like you're going south, like to the southern hemisphere where it's winter and it's like a little bit of you're taking the edge off. Like, you're going to the Mediterranean. It's hot. It's humid.
Well, it's hot when you see Nikos and Stefanos.
I guess.
Is it hot? Is it humid in the Mediterranean?
I mean, it's legit it's like hardcore summer. You're not getting a break from anything here. You're not escaping
I think it's when you're on the water. I think it's one way. And then when if you're
I'm gonna call a bluff on that.
Pounding the pavement in Rome, going to the Vatican, it's probably a little hot.
Yes, but if you're on the sea, like you said, Mykonos.
Oh yeah, sure. But like it's not like
get a nice breeze.
In the winter, you go to Greece, like you go to a place to get warm. I don't want to go to a warmer place in the summer or a place that's just like I want to take the edge off a little bit.
So you're looking for a ski vacation right now?
I just
When you go to
like,
Chile?
No, I just want to go. Like I'm good at my beach right now. Like I don't need to go to the Caribbean in August.
Right. The beach doesn't feel better, to you there.
Yeah, get me in February. Get me to Cancun.
Sorry, Bogues. I was in Mallorca last summer.
Yeah.
Was it last summer? Two summers ago anyway, and it was like 110 degrees. So. Sorry, I apologize, Bogush, that I couldn't go in December.
No.
The only time I could go was in July. Next time I'll arrange my vacation for you.
You do you, but I need some analytics on why now is the time that so many people are there. It's like you're getting a 2-for-1 deal on tickets.
Well, you realize it's just summer vacation. So I was lucky enough to be a PA, lowest person on the totem pole, production assistant at the 2004 Olympics in Athens. And I was still in college. It was amazing. I gained 10 pounds, yada, yada, yada. I'm here now. No. It was great. It was great.
A lot of yada, yada, yada.
I'd recommend it. Okay, my stock down. I think it's kind of literal stock down here for the 49ers. And again, they might have a chance to save this whole thing with Aiyuk, and maybe him playing this season is actually the best outcome. But the fact that he turned down a deal reportedly to the Patriots, who were going to offer them a haul, according to reports, means the stock's down. It means they've lost their hand. It means the leverage is gone or dwindling. And I don't know if they're going to end up being able to come out of this saving face, but right now my stock down is the 49ers. So there you go. M&P 500. Stock up, stock down. Pat, I was not going to mention your stock after I beat you in a race walk.
Okay, yes. And you also, 1, started early. 2,
told you.
Tried to stiff arm me at the finish line.
We all saw it.
It wouldn't have mattered. I was already beating you. Whoa. The arm out didn't really do much.
Oh, no.
Did you see the head start you got?
You let me count down. I just did 3, 2, 1.
That was a big mistake.
Yep, I call BS on that too. What an advantage that is.
And I listened to the show yesterday. Whoever mentioned the lane that you had was also spot on. I had to avoid garbage cans along the way.
Boo-hoo. I would have beat you in the inside lane.
That was me, by the way.
Thank you, EJ.
Would have beat you in the inside lane. But anyway, if you guys never got to do the bronze medal, who's going to get silver and bronze? But maybe the time is past. You have headlines for us, sir.
I do. We had 2 preseason games last night in the NFL. Patriots beat the Panthers 17-3. DrakeMaye played just 1 series, went 2 for 3 for 19 yards. Bryce Young did not play for the Panthers. Giants beat the Lions 14-3. By the way, preseason or not, if you think Dan Campbell's going to change one bit this year after all the criticism he received from the NFC Championship game, going for it constantly on 4th down, and for most of last season, you're wrong. Lions went for it twice on 4th and goal last night inside the 5 and got turned away both times.
How about the 4th and 1 from the 37 or whatever?
And that as well.
Pete is not going to survive this season if you have to keep watching. I told you he's going to only get worse.
He went for it again?
3 times. 3 times. 4th and goal twice, fell both times, and 4th and 1 from their own 37 and failed.
Oh, take a break.
They're not even carrying a kicker this year.
Oh, that's awful.
No kicker, no punter.
Yeah,
By the
their
way,
kicker tore his hamstring
their
badly.
kicker is actually hurt for the year.
Yep.
They need someone
No
else.
replacement.
So I was listening to the Lions radio broadcast for a while.
Just jump out the window?
How did you get involved in that?
This is the bad mojo that needs to be cleansed out of your apartment.
What? I can't listen to Lions radio? It's an entertaining broadcast.
Versus watching the game on TV?
Sometimes I like to get a little bit of a different perspective.
For somebody that's in the New York City metropolitan area?
Well, to be fair, I was watching the Patriots game, and then I was listening a little bit to the Lions. And I like to get a little bit of different flavor, and they are very concerned about the Nate Sudfeld thing, and they are very concerned about the kicker thing. Just a little update from what Lions talk has been like. The kicker thing, they have no idea if this dude can actually kick.
What's his name, Bates?
Not Badgley.
Any kicker they roll out there, here's not Badgley. Let's see if he can make this one.
That's when they'll go to the kicker.
I think he drilled a 53-yarder. And that's their only points they got. So the only points came from the kicker.
That's when they'll go to the kicker, when they pick a third-string guy to kick the ball.
It's funny because I was listening to a little Michael Lombardi, the former GM, and he's like, he can't stand Dan Campbell and how he always goes through this. And you can tell, he's like, Andy Reid kicks more field goals than anybody. He's got the greatest quarterback alive, and they never go for it on fourth down, like ever. And here's Dan Campbell, who's going to put Pete into like the asylum in a straitjacket for how much he goes for it.
Look, I like the aggression. If he doesn't learn from his lessons, though, he's going to be out of here.
Out of where?
No,
they
love
Detroit.
him. There's no shot.
There is a shot. If this team doesn't make it, and
they're bringing Belichick? They love him.
Doesn't make what though, Pete? The playoffs?
No, they were so close to a Super Bowl.
They should have been in a Super Bowl.
If they can't get back there within 2 years, I think he's out of here.
I don't think so. You've got a coach that
you
took
agree,
them from.
EJ?
I've said this months ago. I think the reason why Ben Johnson has stayed is because he knows the hot seat that Dan Campbell is on. And I totally repeat, if they have a game like they had in the conference championship where Dan Campbell gets kind of blamed for them not going to the Super Bowl, or they have playoff failures because he's going for it too much or he's too aggressive, they're absolutely going to put Ben Johnson in that spot.
You don't think Ben Johnson's
100% right?
You don't think Ben Johnson's complicit in any of this stuff? I mean, he's the offensive coordinator. It's not like you're taking the defensive guy.
Buck stops with Campbell, though.
Yeah. No, the head coach is the guy saying we're going to go for it now. Ben Johnson's not saying, hey, let's go for it. And Dan Campbell says, oh, I don't know. And then they go for it anyway. Like, that's totally going to be put on Dan Campbell.
I think it's the philosophy. I think they're tied together. Like, I think they both believe in it. But that's interesting. I think Dan Campbell has got more job security than anyone outside of Andy Reid.
I agree.
Or who else am I missing?
They still haven't won a ring.
That loss, Maggie, I
get it. The Lions were a joke before he got there for years. You're going to go back to where Rod Marinelli? Like, you can't. They've told us, like, they got rid of what's his face, Jim Caldwell. They should have never done that. It was a revolving door of coaches. They finally got a guy. I think what he's done, the good far outweighs the bad, at least for now.
And let's remember, they got that far in part because Dan Campbell rolls the dice and gambles, and they go for it on fourth down, and they're aggressive. So, yes, when it doesn't work out like it did in the NFC Championship game, then everyone wants to point the fingers. I agree with you. I think only Andy Reid, maybe Shanahan, the only two coaches that have more job security than him.
That's fine. Like I said, that's fine. The aggression needs to be there. That's his MO. That's how it should be. But he has to learn from his lessons. And he had a big one last year. And if he can't learn from it and he can't grow as a coach, he's not going to be there.
Guys,
I'm not saying next year.
High profile.
EJ, go ahead.
I was going to say coaches who have high profile failures, they wear it eventually. Even well-liked coaches. Tony Dungy wore those Bucs failures in the playoffs. He was as well-liked as anybody in the fan base, well-liked as anybody in the locker room. But at the end of the day, them scoring 3 points and 6 points in the playoff games, he wore it, and they got him out of here.
Then you should think Kyle Shanahan's on the hot seat.
Exactly.
Then he should be on the hottest seat of anybody because
two double-digit Super Bowl leads,
and
not to mention 28-3.
He's another one.
Well, he might be, but I don't think he's anywhere close to a hot seat.
I love everyone cheering for him, but he hasn't done a damn thing to win anyway, too.
And Kyle Shanahan does not have the hottest offensive coordinator, head coaching candidate right behind him. That's to me the big thing. I think the high profile game that Dan Campbell is going to be in, where he's going to have to make these tough decisions, and we know what he's going to do. And if they fail, he's going to get blamed for it. And the Lions have an option that any NFL team would be like, that's a guy that we want as their head coach.
I think Ben Johnson is going to look like he made a gigantic mistake, because if Jaden Daniels he's getting extremely high marks, and guys who are playing against him, like on the Jets, who are saying this guy's going to be nice one day, and like they're giving him all this praise when they don't have to. I think Ben Johnson, who spurned the Commanders, is going to look like he made a mistake.
And Cliff Kingsbury, people are going to think he's worthy of a head coaching job after this if Jaden Daniels is good.
And when you say that Johnson stayed because Dan Campbell's seat is hot, when do you and Ben Johnson think Dan Campbell's going to get fired? In the season? Or how long is he going to sit there and hang out? Because you mentioned Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy was the Bucs head coach for 6 seasons. They didn't get rid of him after 2.5. So there's no possible way that Dan Campbell is in danger of losing his job in the next 2 seasons.
Yeah.
It's just not
Dan
possible.
Campbell it's not his first year as the Lions
It's his
head coach.
third.
He's been right.
Not
so
6.
He's been there.
Dungy was there for 6.
Fourth.
Okay, still.
It's going to
No, but
year
what I'm
4.
saying, like Dan Campbell, the Lions have to go like 6-11 this year for him to get fired.
He's not getting fired.
They were 3-13 his first year,
Right.
and now they should have been in the Super Bowl. I'll grant you that, and they were so close in the NFC Championship game. We got to put the poll out. Is Dan Campbell on the hot seat? I think is a fascinating one. We'll tweet that out, EJ, if you don't mind, just taking care of that from Maggie and Pearl on X. All right, we think we have time for one more little one.
Well, I didn't even get to the main story of the Giants and Lions update.
Nah, that's fine.
But that's, because the NFL, by the way, we're experimenting. We see the new dynamic kickoff rules in action last night. That was fun. The landing zone. I mean, for all the listeners out there, if you haven't gotten up to speed on the new kickoff rules, please do so. The NFL also experimenting with
or
Sony.
What, Pat?
What?
It's like a threat. Or what?
Get the hell out of here.
You're going to be very
week one.
annoyed week 1 when you hear landing zone, restraining line, and all these other freaking terms for the new kickoff rules. The NFL also experimenting with Sony's Hawkeye technology to measure the line to gain for first downs in some preseason games this year. That is the laser technology that they use in tennis. So they used it last night's Giants-Lions game. And, of course, it took forever to get the result the first time they used it. This is courtesy of Fox in New York.
Are we going to use it if it takes this long? Okay.
Yeah. We just run the chains out.
Yeah. Yeah,
the
laser's taking as long as they would if they were
longer.
It's a virtual animation.
Yeah.
Bring in the Baxley family and get the chains out there.
Yeah, so Phil Simms, that was the first voice, not a fan.
No.
This is Phil Simms.
And he'll say it. Phil's not going to hold back. I mean, it's bad. Your technology is really getting roasted when they're like, bring out the chain gang again. The least modern thing we have in sports. Pat, thank you for that. We will check in with you next hour. We've got so much more to do, including one player who's got a lot at stake in this preseason. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray. Andrew Bogusch is in for Andrew Perloff. You know, I wanted to just put it out there yesterday on social because I was kind of curious how people were thinking about the Noah Lyles situation. If you missed it yesterday, Noah Lyles, the American sprinter, is super famous, has already won a gold medal in the 100 meters in one of the closest races they've had since in 50 years or something. So now he's running in the 200, Bogusch, and it's obviously very prestigious. I think only 10 people have done it in history to win the 100 and the 200 in the same Olympics. So he goes out there, he competes, he wins the bronze, he collapses in a heap, and everyone's worried for him. It turns out that he had tested positive for COVID 2 days before and ran the race despite the fact that he had COVID. Now, when he tested positive, he quarantined himself. He was wearing a mask. So if you're worried about could he have infected someone else? He did take all those precautions as much as he could. 65% of the people I asked on my social media said, yes, he should have competed. And I'm with them. I think this is going to go down as more of a heroic endeavor, not something where you're looking at him saying, gosh, how could you have put people in danger? The IOC said you can compete if you had COVID. It's up to the discretion of the athlete. And so he did nothing wrong by the letter of the law. And I'm not saying it's Michael Jordan's flu game, but I think that it's the overcoming something now that thankfully where we are, I think with COVID in this world is, you can get treatment for it. People I don't think are still dying from it. It's, I think, treated a little bit more like the flu.
And we're not, overwhelming hospitals and ERs and stuff like that with people being sick. So like that is the good news in all of this. I still think it sounds like he could have, because the problem with saying that he had it, telling anybody else, is that other athletes might have had a problem with him being around.
Yep.
People from the outside might have been saying, you can't run, and like forced him to not run it. He was apparently open to running a relay tomorrow.
Yeah, he's
back. But now he's back.
I think it's today, actually.
And I wonder if that's because people are at first like, how could you still be around here? But like if the competitors knew that he had it to stay away from him, I'd feel a little bit better about how he handled it. But for the most part, he did what he was supposed to do, like you said. I think the bigger issue for like how you stack it up historically is he didn't win. And I don't mean to dismiss a bronze medal. It's ridiculous. Finishing the race with how he apparently felt was considerable. But like, we're kind of an all or nothing deal here. And if you don't win gold or the game, or not just me, but like are people going to remember, like, the Jordan flu game comes to mind immediately. Schilling's bloody sock, like all health-related games.
Yeah.
Kirk Gibson limping around the bases after a home run.
They were all winners.
All winners.
Right.
Like, do you get that kind of credit for a bronze medal, not a gold?
Yeah, I mean, man, that's crazy. I think of it as, wow, like, how did you even medal at all? Not just the fact that he has COVID, but he also has asthma on top of it. So it's a respiratory issue in a virus that's attacking you, like, right in your most vulnerable spot. And the fact that he got bronze, I think, like, adds to the lore. You know, it's just it was such a unique story because you're thinking, all right, maybe this is disappointing that he gets the bronze. Obviously, everyone wants to win. And then you find out he has COVID, and then he's doing the interview on NBC. We actually have some of the audio, Pete, not to surprise you there, but can we hear from Noah Lyles? So he's talking with NBC about how he was feeling after the diagnosis.
Yeah, I woke up early, about 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and I just was feeling really horrible. And I knew it was more than just being sore from the 100. Woke up the doctors and we tested, and unfortunately it came up that I was positive for COVID. And, my first thought was not to panic. Thinking, I've been in worse situations. I've run with, worse conditions. I felt.
Okay, so he said he's proud of the bronze medal and running it with COVID.
It's taken its toll for sure, but I've never been more proud of myself for being able to come out here and getting a bronze medal, where last Olympics I was very disappointed, and this time I couldn't be more proud.
All right, proud of himself. I mean, the fact that he medaled it all with COVID, and EJ said if he was one of the other runners in the race and and lost to a guy with COVID and asthma, you maybe want to find a different sport.
Along the lines of, should you propose whether you win or lose your race, like the other day? Like,
yeah.
Do you think we would
marriage proposal?
Yeah. Do you think we would have known that he had COVID had he won gold yesterday?
Would he have not said it?
Yeah. Like, did they tell us because we saw him have that need medical help after the race?
Oh, that's interesting. Would he have kept it a secret? He kept it a secret before the other runners.
The semifinals the day before too. He actually, one of those things, he needed to go to the medical tent as well, and he didn't speak to the media. No one explained why.
Right. I think he would have said it either way. I do. I think at some point you have to come clean, right? And he's not going to be running the 4x100. Yeah, you can't keep it a secret the whole entire time. The fact that he did even leading up to the race is kind of remarkable. I think it's just interesting. Is this more of a triumph or this more of an outrage? I think a lot of people with COVID, thank God we've gotten to a different place with it, but there are a lot of people that were extremely personally affected by this. And so even just the mention of it can trigger things in people. And the fact that, again, he didn't break any rules. The IOC said it's up to the athlete if they want to compete, but sort of, do you do the
courtesy
thing, which is
because also don't forget, where did he get it from? Did he get it from another runner in one of those waiting rooms? Did he get it from being at other events? Did he get it from you don't know, we can't know. But when you don't have any way of testing or reporting or any requirements, it allows for things to possibly get out of hand.
I mentioned I put the poll question up. Most people on my poll were fine with Noah Lyles competing, even though he did have COVID. And again, he got the bronze medal. I also have another poll up explaining my situation with the apartment that my husband and I are trying to sell, where the deal fell through, and our broker believes we should bring someone in to, quote unquote, cleanse the energy of the apartment. She's paying for it. It's like a shaman mystic type person. And I'm asking, will this work? 70% of people said no. I hope you're wrong on this. I'm willing to try anything. We really would like to sell the apartment. We didn't think the apartment had bad vibes. The people living there have been great. Our tenants have been nothing but great vibes. But now I don't know. We'll burn a little sage.
If you were listening to preseason out-of-town radio in that apartment, that opens the door to a lot.
Oh, because I was listening to the Lions radio broadcast last night? They did a great job.
I'm sure they did that. I'm not judging the quality of their broadcast. I'm judging your commitment to preseason football on a Thursday night.
Listen, I think it's Perloff. He's rubbed off on me. He really has. I never used to be into preseason anything. Spring training, preseason basketball, none of this. And Perloff has really opened my eyes. He's like, how do you set your fantasy lineup? Like, how do you do your fantasy draft if you don't watch preseason? Like, well, if I'm drafting Nate Sudfeld, then
right.
I am going to lose all my money.
And I could have told you this morning, Maggie. You didn't have to listen to Lions Radio to find that out. America told you Nate Sudfeld is not draftable in the moment last night.
I didn't need the professionals for that one.
Every third tweet last night was like, man, don't let Jared Goff get hurt. Nate Sudfeld sucks. Nate Sudfeld sucks.
Well, I mean, it's not like Goff's out there putting himself in harm's way more than anyone else.
True, but hold on tight. He should gain back Lamar Jackson's weight to give him sturdier.
Question also at Maggie and Pearl on X, is Dan Campbell on the hot seat? This argument may rip the show at the seams. We just are all in disagreement on that one. Coming up, who was held out of practice yesterday because it rained? I'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Back in the calm, no crush. Athletes train hard. Get it with Snoop to your double chill. On the beat, Paris got a problem. Mickey Cully ain't discreet. Olympics coming fast, but the water's not neat. Gotta clean it up, make the competition sweet. Snoop's in the house and he's laying it down. In Paris where the river's supposed to wear the crown. But there's trouble in the water, yeah, it's going around. While Peter Buddy's on the sideline, not making a sound. Now Peter Bellotti ain't fazed by the fuss. While the city's in a hurry, he's missing the bus. Olympic fever high and everyone's a rush. Peter's laid back in the calm, no crush. Athletes train hard, dreams big, they trust. While Peter's in his world, the side lives robust. Paris may hustle, sparkle and bust, but Peter Bellotti's mind is clear from Olympic dust. As the world tunes in for the gold, the glory, Peter's got other tales, another story. Not about the races or the podium's top. He's cool in the shadows where he doesn't flop. Back to Snoop with a message so clear, trying to fix the waters before the Olympians cheer. Yet there's Peter Bellotti sipping on his beer. Olympics might roar, but Peter just doesn't hear. In a city famed for lights, art, and more, Peter Bellotti finds his peace not keeping the score. While rowers row and swimmers soar, Peter's vibe is different on his own shore. So as we close this rap, take it from Snoop. We're all in this game, in every group. But remember our man, Peter Bellotti, unique in the troop, marching to his beat in his own loop.
Minutes remaining.
Oh, wow. Wow, that was actually good. Los Angeles, she's coming. 4 years. Oh, wow. Wow, that was actually good. Los Angeles, she's coming. 4 years. Another good start from Maggie out of the blocks.
So fast.
Yeah, an Olympic power walker on our hands here. Get her to LA.
30 seconds remaining.
Get her a drug test.
1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Yesterday, Aaron Rodgers was held out of a joint practice between the Jets and the Commanders because it rained. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Bogish is in for Andrew Perloff. It rained yesterday, Bogish. It's been raining through much of the East Coast. And Robert Saleh, the head coach of the Jets, woke up and said, it's raining. Aaron Rodgers can't practice today. He said it was a gut feeling. Rodgers protested. He wanted to get out there, and he just said no. I think this thing is hanging on by a thread. And if you are that worried about Aaron Rodgers' health, which I get, he's the season, I understand it. But, Bogish, if you are so concerned that you can't have him practice in the rain, how are you going to navigate through a 17-game season when you play one game in a dome? Like, you get no breaks here. You're in the AFC East. You are out, exposed to the elements. Their away schedule and out of division schedule doesn't help them at all. They even get to play the Minnesota Vikings, but it happens in London. So it's outside. Like, you're going to have adverse conditions. I thought getting him out there a bit in the rain is probably something you want. Isn't this part of the gearing up for the regular season and getting ready?
No, I think, Maggie, this is another head coach telling us how unimportant things in August are. Like, did you listened and you watched and listened to games last night, and nobody of note played, and they were 14-3 and 17-3 in bad weather. This is a joint practice on a Thursday in early August. This is not the time to have Aaron Rodgers slip or somebody slip and fall into his leg. This makes total sense. Absolutely total sense.
Okay. If you're that worried, though, about the rain, I think you're worrying. Is it possible to worry too much?
Not in August.
Well, and this is what I think about. Does this go beyond August? Because that's a fair point. It's August. Nothing matters right now, or little does. Although I would say, you haven't played a game in like how many months? I mean,
11?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, September 11th is when he went down. And so here's my question. When we do get into the regular season, do we start to see a thing where it's like a load management thing? Because you're saying it's August, nothing matters. Well, I could say it's week 2, it doesn't matter. It's week 3. You could extend that line of thinking and say, listen, if it's really bad weather, it's a torrential downpour, maybe we just get Tyrod Taylor in there because we know we have a lot of ground, a lot of weeks we can make up for it. Or if it's late in the season and maybe you have a little bit of wiggle room in the division or for the wild card, do you say, hey, maybe we're going to sit Aaron Rodgers? Like, how far do you take this thing?
To week 1. That's it. Like, once the season starts, he plays. There is not a scenario whether, like, knock on wood, we've had games in and around hurricanes and whatnot. Like, there is not a scenario where the Jets play a game and because of Mother Nature, Aaron Rodgers does not go out there. That's just not a thing. Now, in a great situation for the Jets, they've got a 3-touchdown lead in the fourth quarter of a game, and Aaron Rodgers can not play the last 2 series. That's where you sneak load management in and you protect him. But otherwise, he's out there until the game is decided or out of doubt.
See, I don't know if it's just that simple, because you're telling me if there's a game December 1st against Seattle, and it's home, and you're doing well, you're cruising. This is not even an AFC game. And I know, like, your total record and stuff goes into playoffs. I get it. But you're telling me they wouldn't think about it if the weather is just absolutely awful? I think they are in such a tough spot here with his injury that they know that if he goes down, the season could be over and they could all get fired. And so, yeah, it's an easier call maybe to make in August, but is there even a discussion or a call to be made when it gets into the regular season if the right scenario presented itself?
If Robert Saleh walked into Joe Douglas's office on a Friday and said, "Hey, boss, did you see that forecast for Sunday? I think we're going to not have Aaron play." Joe Douglas should fire Robert Saleh then for even thinking that. You can't. This is it's just not how this works.
They might all get fired if they don't load manage him, though.
Doesn't matter. But there is no such thing as that in the NFL.
Yet.
It's not coming. If you're like the level of concern you have for Aaron Rodgers' fragility should be that he should lead you to be saying that he shouldn't be their quarterback.
Well, what's the expectation for the Jets this year?
For me, it's to win the AFC East.
Okay, but playoffs.
Win a playoff game. They're that good.
Okay, and so that's the ultimate thing. And it's a long season. Again, you have a 40-year-old coming off an Achilles. The only dome game you play is at Arizona in November. So you're getting no breaks here in terms of what the elements may present. And the most important thing is that he's going to be upright and available come December and January. That's where the expectation is. So if there is a game early, if you are, it's the Denver Broncos on September 29th, Tyrod Taylor should be able to beat the Denver Broncos at home, don't you think?
Well, okay, but that's not how you make decisions on quarterbacks. Because again, this is not him at the end of last season trying to play one-legged, and you're trying to protect him from things like that. Then you want to get cute and creative, but he's Aaron Rodgers again. He's 100% physically. There is no reason to protect him unless there's a particular field like the one you play on.
Like your home field where everyone rips their ACL.
Is abnormally dangerous. That would be the only time where for 10 seconds you should consider this. But otherwise, he just goes out there and plays.
The only reason why I bring this up is because yesterday, Robert Saleh woke up in the morning, saw it was raining, and decided not to play Aaron Rodgers and to hold him out of practice. Let's hear a little from Saleh. Pete, can you give us the Jets head coach, please?
Woke up this morning, saw the weather. He's taken every rep in practice, and so I just felt like it's just unnecessary heightened environment, unfamiliar foes in terms of taking care of one another. I just didn't want to expose him to it. If it was a game, if it was a practice, if it was clean outside, he would have practiced today. But call it over protection, but it's just a decision I made. He pushed back. He won the go, but it's not in the grand scheme of things. We're trying to keep forward thinking with regards to week one, and we got a long way for that, and he'll have other opportunities coming up with Carolina and the Giants.
More from Robert Saleh, which is about Rodgers' preseason schedule. At first, he said, no, he's not going to be playing in the preseason. Rodgers said, that's news to me. So now Saleh has opened the door on whether Rodgers may play the final game.
We haven't had final decisions yet at all with regards to the third game. You guys know me. The third game is usually when we like to play our guys, and depending on how today went, how Saturday goes, and then next week's work with the Panthers and the following week with the Giants, I'll make that decision. There's a chance. Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, it's like that saying, you had one job. Like, you have one job, and it's to keep Aaron Rodgers healthy, not just getting to the season, but through the season. And, before we saw this happen in the NBA, which obviously is a different schedule and stuff, but before we saw it in the NBA, we had never really heard of load management. And then it became a thing, and then it became an epidemic. And now they've had to, basically put incentives for the guys to try to play as many games as possible in basketball. Just because we haven't seen it yet, this would be the time, Bogusch. This would be the scenario and circumstance. If you're worried about, that a Commanders player in a joint practice might go rogue and take out Aaron Rodgers, if you are really thinking Super Bowl or bust, AFC Championship or bust, whatever the expectation is inside the building, or everyone is getting fired, you might think about load managing during the season to try to make sure he's peaking at the end of the year.
Well, then don't even play him, right? I mean, should we go there? Like, just don't play September and October?
I'm just saying if the weather is unreal bad, which can happen in September and October, maybe not snow, but definitely rain, then I don't know. Again, can Tyrod Taylor beat the Denver Broncos for you at home? Do you even make that calculation? Can Tyrod Taylor beat the New England Patriots if it's pouring rain on Thursday, September 19th? Because that's also coming off a short week.
Can you imagine Robert Saleh pitching this to AaronRodgers? They can't agree on whether Rodgers is going to play in a meaningless game. You think he's going to just watch a regular season game because of the rain?
I think that
he would stab Tyrod Taylor to play. Come on.
So.
This is not happening. The only load management that exists is because of the score in a particular game or because you've wrapped things up and in week 18 you sit a guy out to protect him for the playoffs. That's it. That's all you got.
855-212-4227. EJ, I think you can see it. I think you can see a little load management.
I mean, I think Bogish is right where I think there may be scenarios where they say, okay, season's kind of, we're wrapped up in the playoff spot. Maybe they don't fight for seeding, right? Like maybe they say, look, could we get the 2 seed and avoid this matchup? Maybe. I think those situations, they'll maybe play it safe, especially if there are weather situations. I don't think we're there yet when it comes to NFL load management. Now, when we get to 18 games and then eventually 20 and then 24, because we know how this is going to go.
Yeah.
That's when we'll have that conversation. I don't know if it happens just yet, but I did watch this and think, well, it makes sense that they would sit Rodgers given what Robert Saleh just said. But I think what you said at the top, Maggie, which is what I thought was, man, this thing is tenuous.
Yeah.
Like if he can't go out there, or you don't think he should go out there because it's raining.
It's raining.
I just need to have different expectations for the Jets. Like I don't know if I can expect them to win the division. I don't, because if rain is that much of a threat. That's football.
We're not even.
That
No.
can happen in any game.
EJ, that's not even football weather. Football weather is snow.
Right.
Rain, that's just something that happens. Like that's something that every team will encounter most likely at some point this season. 855-212-4227. Pete, on your level to 0 to annoyed beyond belief, if they actually did sit Rodgers because it was raining during a game, where would you be on that?
Regular season, I'd be pretty annoyed. I would be. It's time to start taking the training wheels off. Let's go.
Well, not yesterday.
Now, yesterday is different. It's very different. This is August. This is a practice. They're ramping him back up. And the guy is overcoming an injury, so you got to have a different process with him. And he's older. He is an older quarterback, so there's a lot of
different calculus.
Yeah, you have to play it a little smartly in August. If you're in November and you're being overly cautious, then there's a problem.
I'm telling you guys, I can't believe you can't see the future here with load management in the NFL. I mean, come on. We've been doing this too long. Everyone copycats each other, and I can see it. 855-212-4227. Okay, you're welcome to weigh in on Rodgers. If you are a fan of Rodgers, how nervous are you that he couldn't practice in the rain yesterday against the Commanders? That's something. I thought that my opinion on Noah Lyles winning the 100 by 5 1,000ths of a second and calling himself the fastest man on earth was a little much. I thought that opinion was unpopular. I've got an even more unpopular opinion, courtesy of a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Oh, it's not your opinion. It's somebody else's opinion.
Someone else's opinion may be on par with how unpopular mine was about Noah Lyles. We'll get to that next. Don't move. It's Maggie and Perloff with Bogish in for Perloff on this Friday.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Breeze in his hair with Captain Big Two at the helm with a flare, a joint in his hand, so breeze in his hair with First Mate Andrew Bogish rolling greens by his side. They navigate not for gold, but for a chill smoky ride. Oh, puff, puff, roll, Big Two keeps it slow, laughing through the mist. Where do they even go? No medals to win, they've got their own high. whose laughter echoes over ocean waves so fast. Stay chill, steer easy, his motto from the past. Which way's the race, he chuckles, cloud of smoke in the air. Pogos with a smirk, who cares when you're floating on air? Oh, puff, puff, row, big two keeps it slow.
4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Andrew Bogish in for Andrew Perloff. Always love it when we get a little insight into our favorite athletes and what they're really like behind the scenes. So here's a little from Josh Allen. The Bills quarterback was on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, and they asked him what his favorite fast food hamburger was.
If you were to say what the best fast food burger is,
Burger.
just strictly burger.
Nothing beats a Big Mac, man.
What?
McDonald's?
I think this is a perfectly fine response. I know that this has caused, obviously, there was outrage right there. Not outrage, but a little shock. I mean, what's wrong with going with a classic? And by the way, it could be a little calculated because McDonald's has a lot of athlete endorsers, or they used to. Maybe Josh Allen was playing an angle here.
Maybe. I mean, you're the Josh Allen whisperer. So, I mean, the floor kind of is yours here to explain this to me, because my first thought is this isn't even the best McDonald's choice. A quarter pounder with cheese is exponentially better than a Big Mac.
Well, that's just because you don't like the Big Mac special sauce.
Incorrect. It's just a better product. It's not, and I wouldn't pick that as the best of all of them, but it's the best McDonald's one.
And the way they've made the Big Mac lately has been very poor.
I wouldn't know.
What changed?
Well,
something.
I haven't had it in a long time. Then I had it about maybe a year ago, and it was very
different,
just depressing. It was a depressing burger.
So you'd go with the quarter pounder next time,
right? Or anything else?
Okay,
anywhere.
Interesting. I think this is like, saying that, who's the most beautiful woman ever? You say Sophia Loren or Marilyn Monroe. You're just going with a classic here. There's nothing wrong with that. Just taking it back to the OG fast food hamburger.
I'm a Whopper guy over a Big Mac any day, too.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to call a Big Mac the Raquel Welch of burgers, be my guest. But
that's what I'm saying, man.
It's 2024. We've got Margot Robbie's walking around.
So you think there's been advancements in the burger industry.
So this is the other heavy decision to be made here, the parameters of fast food. Like what is included in this conversation? Because I don't know that Shake Shack wants to be fast food.
It's tears.
Don't you know it when you see it? I mean, not everyone has the drive-up window, but obviously that would be the number one thing. You can drive up and eat it, hence the fast food.
Yeah.
But you also have a place to sit down. I mean, McDonald's has got like whole jungle gyms and stuff, so you can go hang out. I had a birthday party there when I was like 5.
I did too.
Yeah, we all did, right? And I think it's like porn. You know it when you see it. And also sometimes it feels like looking at porn. Yes, EJ.
This take from Josh Allen's offensive. I'm sorry. This is and look, I did not have a Big Mac recently, but I share Pete's experience that like I had not had McDonald's in years and recently had it, and it was grotesque.
Well, not what you remember.
I don't know what's happened, but the quality has definitely gone down.
That's what happened.
I don't think it's that, because I still love other things. I still love Popeyes. I still love Chick-fil-A. There's some things I still love.
Right.
It's McDonald's I can't do. But there's only 4 correct answers here. Five Guys, Shake Shack, In-N-Out. One I haven't had, but everybody says it's great, is Whataburger.
Yeah.
If you're saying anything other than those 4, you're wrong. And then they go to the Big Mac. I mean, like I said to you guys yesterday, it's like picking the Cyclone as the best roller coaster. I mean, sure, it could be okay, and it's iconic, but come on now. Well, like, we've grown as a society. We've grown past the need for Big Macs. I used to love Big Macs as a kid. The special sauce is awesome. But, Josh, this was really bad.
See,
I don't know what he was talking about.
I think the one thing that Mickey D's does really well is, first of all, their like sweet and sour sauce is the best of the sweet and sour sauces. But 2, chopping up the onions was a revelation. It's, if you don't like onions, you just get it without it. But if you do, having them chopped up finely like that really is great, because you're definitely getting an even distribution of onion all throughout. I'm a bit more of a Whopper person myself. I'd rather just take the straight up mayonnaise and ketchup than the special sauce.
Yep.
But I disagree, EJ, that like, have we moved on as a society? Like, what is Shake Shack or any of these doing better than Mickey D's? Like, maybe you didn't get a good burger or whatever once, but it's like it's almost like improving on toilet paper. Like, you can fancy it up with with patterns and 2-ply and all of that, but ultimately, like, you just need to get the job done. And I think the Big Mac still gets the job done. I love it. And I apologize to McDonald's for just comparing their hamburger to toilet paper, but you know what I mean.
Your 2 metaphors have been porn and wiping butts.
Listen,
in this conversation. Clean it up, Margaret.
Tell me sometimes looking at food pictures doesn't look a little, Ty Dunn, our friend in Buffalo, put a picture of wings up the other day, and I was like, that's pornographic material. It should get flagged by Elon Musk.
But see, even going back to EJ with 4 actual answers. I don't think that Shake Shack or Five Guys count in this conversation. In-N-Out does, Whataburger does, McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, White Castle.
Yeah.
What is the Crystal? There's another version of White Castle in other parts of the country, like small individual ones.
Crystal meth?
Nope. Like Checkers, like those are
Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box. That's a fast food hamburger. Shake Shack and Five Guys, I don't even think want to be in this conversation.
Well,
they think that they're better because they are.
They just want to also charge you more.
Sure, but that's a real hamburger like that I could have made on my barbecue. It's not coming out of a little plastic scooper that's already been cooked somewhere else than McDonald's.
Let's not mess with the method because
let's mess
first
with
of all,
the method.
I
That's
don't
the
want to
problem.
know. And secondly, I'm okay with the Egg McMuffin and how they make all that other stuff. So, Pat, where are you on a Big Mac?
Do I like it?
It's Josh Allen's favorite fast food burger.
Nah. There's so many fast food sandwiches that destroy the Big Mac. It's not even close. What is the specialty about the Big Mac? That there's another piece of bread in the middle and the special sauce?
Two patties.
Yeah, 2 patties.
Come on. Baconator's better, and that's not saying much. Anything from Chick-fil-A is better. Anything from Popeyes is better.
Chick-fil-A is not burger.
Burgers.
It has to be a burger?
Yeah, we're going burgers here, not chicken.
Baconator's better.
Dave's Double's better. Dave's Double's delicious.
The fast food places, the best one is Whataburger.
Never had it.
Whataburger's bigger, and meat's better. It's just a tastier product.
All right. Well,
I'm an In-N-Out guy myself. In-N-Out, I think, is the best. And by the way, to Bogus's point, I think fast food burger counts as long as I don't have to ask a waiter to get it for me. So, like Red Robin, for example, not in this conversation. That's a sit-down restaurant.
Yeah.
I need a waiter to give it to me. But if I can go up just to the counter, order the burger, get it in, I know 5 Guys can be a little while. Get it in 5 to 10 minutes and walk out. That's fast food.
So let me throw this wrinkle at you.
Quarter Pounder's better, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I said. I
said.
think these restaurants still exist. Bobby Flay's Hamburger Restaurant. You walk in, you order at the register, and then someone brings you the burger. How does that work with your waiter
Well, that's a
conundrum?
loophole. I mean, that's like a one-off because Bobby Flay's trying to do something
That's
different.
That might be my favorite burger.
That was a good burger. I wish it still existed on Long Island. There used to be one by where Pete and I live. It's gone.
It's good.
Does Shake Shack
it's really good.
get into this conversation?
Yeah, we
Shake Shack's better than a Big Mac.
But is it actually apples to apples comparison? Shake Shack's like north of McDonald's in terms of like effort and products.
I think they're on the same plane. I think you guys have bought into the Shake Shack hype. It's just a bunch of hocus pocus. It's all the same. They're just like they're getting you with the fancier stuff and the milkshakes and whatever. It's the same type of burger. I do not think it's more special than a Big Mac, a Whopper, or a Wendy's.
I can see you
Baconator.
trying to fabricate as you went along right there. It was a good effort.
Yeah, defending Josh Allen.
How about this?
If this is Noah Lyles, he'd be stupid as all hell.
Can I tell you, I had the ultimate Shake Shack experience because I waddled my behind over there when I was like 8 months pregnant. Major craving for a burger. We have one close to the studio.
Mm-hmm.
I went over there and I was like, do not get between a pregnant woman and any food, let alone a burger. And I was like, this is going to be dope. I was by myself, so I could really go to town with no shame, no judgment, no one watching me. Disappointed. And this was at my eating peak. I'm telling you, you guys have been hypnotized by the Shake Shack propaganda.
I didn't say what propaganda do they push? That they make burgers and shakes.
You know what I mean. Pat, we've got headlines to get to. Hit us off.
Yes. So we've hit on the 2 preseason games from last night throughout the show. I mean, to a nauseating extent.
So we're good now?
Yeah. Giants over the Lions 14.
Back to how Josh Allen's the smartest human on the planet.
He's got good taste, is what I'm saying.
Giants over the Lions 14-3. Patriots over the Panthers 17-3. Before we turn the page to tonight's 3 games, just some training camp news across the NFL. Tough break for new Falcons receiver Rondale Moore. Yeah. He is done for the season. He was carted off the field during a joint practice Wednesday with the Dolphins in Miami. Air cast was placed on Moore's right knee. He's on season-ending IR. That was confirmed yesterday, so Kirk Cousins has one less weapon to work with this year. Some news for tonight's games. Steelers versus Texans. Russell Wilson continues to be limited by a calf injury, so Justin Fields is starting tonight. Russ will not play, but head coach Mike Tomlin continues to reiterate that Russ is QB1. By the way, I wonder how they're doing in Pittsburgh. Our pal Andrew Filipponi has been telling us for about 5 days that they are acquiring Brandon Aiyuk, but Nothing.
I believe Filipponi. And he tweeted out yesterday, Wilson Phillips, hold on for one more day. And I was like, I'm with you, Pony.
Can't. It's been like 4 days. You told us 4 days ago they were on the goal line. Then you told us 3 days ago that it was happening.
I mean, these things take time. They had to reject it. Like, Aiyuk had to reject the Patriots and then, had to give them a bad vibe. Like, Pony's still in play. I'm still with you, Pony.
Okay. Falcons versus Dolphins. Rookie Michael Penix Jr. will start for Atlanta. New head coach Raheem Morris said they will get a good look at Penix this preseason and that we will see, quote, little, if any, of Kirk Cousins, end quote. What are you laughing at? Get a good look at Penix?
Yeah. Just trying to think of a pun connected to the Olympics, like knocking the high bar down or tipping off the diving board. Just
our friend Sean would have had something.
Yeah.
Sean Marash.
You stiff
or
arm.
Maggie. We've seen how she predicts how she pronounces
Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bang.
Penix.
That's some stiff arm.
I was going to say, I think you guys are missing the obvious one. But Penix stay hard. I think it's Michael Penix getting penetration on the Penix. Go back to you, Pat. You're asking me
Maggie Gray.
if I had it and you said Marash would have had something like it was a challenge.
You know what?
You rose to it.
There's 3 Andrews on the show.
Yeah. What's that?
And then, go ahead. You got something there, Bowie?
There's 3 Andrews on this show. You need none of us with lines like that.
2 people have been
Don't get me
offended
started.
this morning.
Wiping butts, porn, penetration.
Penix.
Yesterday we were faking pregnancies to trick dudes into getting married.
You asked me for a way to move the ball towards the goal line.
2
I didn't say
people
I
have been
did
offended.
it.
And you're plowing right through the A gap.
Yeah.
Eagles versus.
Sorry, to say, two people have been offended this morning. Kevin Durant with Americans rooting for Serbia, and Maggie Gray saying she couldn't rise up to the challenge of being Mraz for a second.
Yeah, I mean,
She was like, "How dare you?" Just like Kevin Durant said, "How dare you Americans praise Serbia?" Maggie's like, "How dare you think I cannot bring this conversation to the gutter?"
Listen, you want to go low? It's whatever the opposite of what Michelle Obama was all about. I'll go lower. What else you got, Pat?
Yeah,
Start
Eagles,
with the
and then
anus, end with the anus.
Wow. Eagles versus
Definitely said
Ravens. Lamar Jackson unlikely to play at all in the preseason either. And unless I miss something, no official word yet from Nick Sirianni on whether or not Jalen Hurts and key Eagles starters will play tonight.
Big butts matter.
Yes.
I mean, why would you even ask Sirianni at this point? Is he even making a decision?
He doesn't
over there?
do anything.
How much more evidence do we need that this dude is in deep water? Basically, his entire assistant coaching staff is gone. The general manager hired his new assistants. His quarterback doesn't think he knows enough about football, tuned him out, and that's the guy who's getting paid $200 million. Like, this dude is in trouble.
The Eagles are good.
They're asking Jalen Hurts about his fractured relationship with Nick Sirianni. So, again, you don't call the plays. You don't do anything defensively. Your job is basically just to maintain the locker room. That didn't work at the end of last year.
Can't make a good Penix joke. He's got nothing.
No.
EAGLES, parentheses, do the arm thing, close parentheses, slash.
Thank you, Ron Burgundy.
How about some of the notable baseball scores from last night? We haven't done anything baseball-wise. The Mariners, who entered the day a half game behind the Astros in the AL West, their crumble was continuing. They can't hit. They can't score runs. They were down 2 runs last night against the Tigers with the bases loaded and down to the final strike. Then this happened.
The 1-2 pitch, swinging a line drive into right field, coming in, diving, and missing the ball delayed. Here comes Rayleigh. Here comes Rosarena. Here comes Bliss. The throw, no relay to the plate. The Mariners win it.
Yeah, Mariners radio walk-off bases clearing double from Mitch Haniger wins it for Seattle. They beat the Tigers 4-3, tied for first with Houston in the AL West.
Thank you for reminding me. I had this saved for our next Maggie MMB 500. I forgot. Mitch Haniger organized with other Mariners. They did a reverse signing with kids from a local children's hospital where the kids signed things for the players.
Yeah, it's cute.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Awesome to see. Great job by all involved. That was super cool.
Stock up.
Bang. Phillies cool off the red-hot D-backs with a 6-4 win. JT Realmuto homered for the first time since May in the win. That's pretty pathetic. In the AL East,
Phillies, so.
Yeah. The AL East race is turning into who wants to lose it less. Yankees and Orioles both in a funk. Yankees lose a series to the Angels, dropping the rubber game 9-4, and the Orioles lose the rubber game to the Blue Jays 7-6. They're both 68 and 48, and they have played 500 or worse baseball for the last 20 games. You guys hit on it again in depth with Joe Vardon of The Athletic, but Team USA came from 17 points down and a 13-point deficit entering the fourth quarter to avoid disaster and one of the biggest upsets in Olympics history. Emphatic comeback to beat Nikola Jokic in Serbia 95-91. Steph Curry, 36 points on 9 threes. LeBron with a 16-point triple-double. Joel Embiid finally stepped up and dropped 19 points. That sequence, by the way, where Steph hits the three, LeBron hits they get the turnover and the fast-paced, the fast break layup, I shrieked. I didn't think I could get that excited into that game. And the entire time they're down, I'm like, they're going to come back. They're going to come back. They're going to come back.
If you were trying to live bet it and try to get a good price there, it never actually went to plus money on Team USA.
No.
Just thinking about that, I'll wet my pants.
And then they were really on the ropes. And then that sequence of plays finally put them ahead. USA versus Victor Wembanyama in France in the gold medal game tomorrow afternoon. By the way, I have not confirmed whether or not this is actually true. But I'm going to assume
perfect setup for the update, guys.
Awesome.
All right,
but I'm gonna assume that Mike Finger, who's got 19,000 followers.
Wait a minute, radar's up.
Oh my God, get the Warriors ready.
Hold on, San Antonio Express.
All
Do
right,
we think this is
back in?
Do we think this is trustworthy?
I think the San Antonio Express is a real.
And he's
news
followed
outlet.
by Woj and Mark Stein.
Okay, we're back in.
He tweeted at 7 a.m. Eastern time. Joel Embiid on what he expects. Jeez, I can't speak. Joel Embiid on what he expects from the French crowd tomorrow. Quote, they're going to boo me. I'm going to go back at them and tell them to suck it.
He did that already. He did the
He did the suck it, the degeneration.
Yes.
When Maggie says hello on most mornings.
It's called a Maggie salute. Triple H stole it from me.
And now we've got it verbally from him as well.
Yeah, here's a question I have for the
Shantae.
It's not exactly a bow or a curtsy.
Toodaloo.
It happens before 9 a.m. It doesn't matter to HR.
Right.
That's all we can do.
Morning, Maggie. Hey, morning.
Okay, here's my question about this Degeneration X thing. Everyone knows it as the theater of the mind here. The crotch chop. Thank you.
Yep.
Wrestling fans in the room. What's the age you can no longer do this? We had a...
How much longer do I have?
I'm 41. No, we had a discussion the other day about jerseys and whose jersey can you wear. If you're in your 40s as a man, can you wear a current player who's younger than you? We went through all of Bogish's 10 commandments on wearing jerseys. What age? Are we 8 years old? 9 years old? I mean, it's definitely younger than Joel Embiid, right? When do you stop doing the crotch chop?
Oh, I don't think you ever should do the crotch chop.
Yeah.
There.
You should never stop.
I think it's like 8. And again, even if my 8-year-old did it, I'd be like, don't do that.
No.
Really? I taught my nephews how to do it.
I grew up in the attitude era as an elementary school student, so this was literally the thing that all elementary school teachers were trying to get their kids to stop doing.
It's not
I feel
a good
like
look.
I feel like once 5th grade ended, it didn't carry over into middle school, and I lived during that era idolizing the Degeneration X. So
Listen,
if you're doing it beyond 5th grade, you're a loser.
Let's just say.
Sorry.
Let's just say.
Wow.
then Embiid's a loser. I mean, he doesn't look great doing this. It looks
knows
really
this.
petty. And
Anthony
silly.
Edwards
The
looked
shoe fits.
phenomenal doing it.
Oh, Anthony Edwards was his butt was on the bench yesterday because he kept bricking corner threes. But here's the thing about it. So, like, my kid is 5, and so he's learning how to read. And the first word I taught him how to read and spell was fart. And yet even I would not do
What book is
the
that?
Degeneration. I just felt like it was something he needed to know.
Everybody farts.
One fart, too fart.
Companion to everybody poops. Yeah.
One fart, too fart. If it's a wet fart, it's a...
Marash fart. All right, so we all agree that Embiid is not representing himself well by doing the crotch
I
chop.
disagree. I'll be on an island. I love it. I would keep doing it.
Of course you would.
What do you
Not a
mean?
surprise.
It's a great taunt.
Oh yeah, and then he'll get hurt, and then we'll be back to square one again with him.
Oh,
Well,
is
no,
it
I mean,
bad?
after well, here's the thing for me as a Knicks fan. Jason Tatum is getting DNPs every single game. He's not even seeing the floor. And if Embiid chokes and gets locked down by Frank Ntilikina in the gold medal game, then it is a win for me. And if Team USA wins, then it's also a win. So I've got everything I came for as a Knicks fan here.
The fact that you think that Frankie Smokes is somehow going to lock down Joel Embiid is the most delusional thing you've ever said in your life.
Or Frankie Smokes puts him on a poster. That's more realistic.
Frankie Smokes got no hops. 855-212-4227. I don't know what you would call in about that last segment. Not sure why I gave the number right there.
Child services, maybe.
We'll just say this.
My mom does the crotch job and teaches me curse words. Come with us.
Like to adopt a small child.
Hop aboard. Give us a ring.
I don't know. I just felt like I needed to arm him with something for the playground, you know?
I got to explain my jokes to him, so
maybe teach him karate. and
That's something useful.
Crotch chop.
Are you still doing the crotch chop? 855-212-40.
What is the right age?
Timmy walked into a room and did that to me. It'd be the last time he did.
Yeah, I wouldn't like it if my kid did it. I haven't shown him wrestling yet.
You know,
here's the weekend, though.
As a wrestling
if it
fan,
keeps raining, we're about to be a SummerSlam on rewind.
As a wrestling fan, I have not shown him. Maybe here and there, like once, like 2 minutes.
They're just so impressionable. I'm afraid all of a sudden I'm going to get like...
suplexed?
I think I'm just going to get a people's elbow, like straight to the gut.
Yeah, I have it.
And he'll think it's funny.
It will be.
I showed him some of the 80s matchups, like just a couple minutes, but so he knows who Hulk Hogan is and that stuff. But no, not until he's older.
Don't update him on that Hulk story, by the way.
Oh no! I tell him what's on the screen. He's a character. Yeah, that's it.
Not real.
I would say doing the suck it is better for a lot of young kids that instead do the 5-year-old Fortnite, like the L on the forehead with the hopping. Because that's the worst thing I've ever seen.
That's bad too.
That's happened to me.
I don't know what you speak.
Yes, that's like I remember. I forget where I was, and just random kids who I did not know, like 7 and 8 year olds. Just I was walking from one place to another on just in public, and kids just like ran past me and decided to do the
shape of an L on your forehead.
Yes, with the it's a Fortnite emote, and I was like, I've never felt more angry and wanted to hit a child in my life than at that moment. I would have rather they gave me the suck it.
You would have respected the suck it.
Yes.
Pat, how are you making it? The fact that you make it to work every day feels like a minor miracle. How you haven't been detained by multiple federal bureaus.
Just for questioning. I'm a person of interest.
Pat, you're the best. Thank you for that. Great job all morning long. We still have tons to do, including a matchup that could go wrong. We'll tell you next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To this story before we hit the weekend. Feel kind of bad doing this without Andrew Perloff here because it's the guy who quarterbacked his team to a very unlikely Super Bowl, and that is Nick Foles, who has called it a career. He retired yesterday and gave a special shout out to Philadelphia.
Specifically, thank you to the Philadelphia Eagles fans. Thank you for all your support from 2012 when I was drafted to 2017 when I came back. You truly made playing in Philadelphia the most special experience in my football career.
Got a statue outside the building with him and Doug Peterson calling Philly special. I mean, will be a legend in that town forever. But here's the question for you. Would you rather have had the career of Nick Foles, right, who backup quarterback, wins the Super Bowl MVP, $80 million in his career, so definitely enough to live on for the rest of your life? Or would you rather have the career of Phillip Rivers, who never got to the Super Bowl, never won one, but has made over $200 million in his career and will likely be a Hall of Famer? And Phillip Rivers, extremely respected career, even though he didn't win a Super Bowl. Bogish, what kind of guy are you?
I know you wanted to end the show in a classy manner, but I can't, so I'm going to answer this question like you would. I think I want to be Big Nick energy. I think.
I was wondering where you going with that. He's got a famous nickname.
Now, on the other hand, we know that Rivers parts work because he has
10 kids.
10 kids. So maybe they're equal in that regard as well.
Wow.
But I from a football perspective, I think even Phillip Rivers would trade a lot of his stuff for one Super Bowl win.
It's funny because Nick Foles has this all-time achievement, right, with an all-time year.
Yeah.
Yet Rivers was, I can't say the model of consistency because he found a million different ways to lose games, but Rivers, through 8 seasons, a comeback player of the year. They were, always almost always. There was a couple bad seasons there, but almost always a factor. He was the guy who was feared on that team. And while you might not have a signature moment like Philly Special or something like that, you still have being considered one of the great quarterbacks of your generation. Nick Foles is not considered that.
No, but and the career is certainly better, but we're also talking about emotions here. And my guess is Phillip Rivers can come up with a combination of regular season wins and passing yards and historical context to get himself into a Super Bowl, even just to get there, let alone win one. I mean, he's just I assume that bothers him every single day.
But to get to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but still, I still think that there's a point in every day where he just goes, dang it. I never got there. We all these missed opportunities. I never won one. And if he could erase that, he probably would in a heartbeat.
But do you think he would trade careers with Nick Foles?
I mean,
he'd been basically a career backup.
I'd be stunned if he said it out loud. But I think in his heart of hearts, he would love to have won a Super Bowl and been the guy in the middle of winning the Super Bowl.
Right, but it was the guy, was also the relief pitcher, though, to speak, right? But at the end of the day, what does it matter, right? Foles is the one who's got the statue. Foles is the one who's a Super Bowl MVP. He beat Brady, or whatever. He gets credited for that. EJ, can we throw that up on the poll at Maggie and Pearl? Just whose career would you rather have? Phillip Rivers, future Hall of Famer, At what point, I don't know when the millions become enough. Nick Foles made $80 million. Phillip Rivers made over $200 million. Again, you're both rich. It's just to a certain degree. But, Rivers is definitely known as one of the quarterbacks of the generation where Nick Foles has this sort of one run.
I don't remember. Is Foles in the Perloff circle of backup quarterback trust?
He never talks about Foles.
He doesn't, right?
Well, he wrote a book with Case Keenum, so obviously that's why they're close. Andy Dalton, he did a big story on at Sports Illustrated about quarterbacks from Texas. Foles is also from Texas.
Profile, right?
Maybe they are friends.
But he doesn't mention them the way he mentions those other two guys.
I mean, it's not like the deep love for Nathan Peterman, no.
Right.
No, of course he loves him.
Do we think Foles got a DM the morning of the hack?
Oh, so yeah, Perloff's social media accounts got hacked. He was beside himself.
Yes, as I would be too.
And the caveat on the hack was that it only went to people who had over 100,000 followers.
Was that the actual
That's
threshold?
What the caveat was.
Okay.
So it was basically all the famous people who follow him. Those are specifically the people who got this message that could have infected their phones and laptops. Maybe Nick Foles did.
Still so jealous. I didn't have an attempted hack from Perloff.
Well,
we're just not close. That's why I've moved on from San Antonio.
I'm actually surprised. There's just so much. Our chat at youtube.com/InfinitySportsNet, twitch.tv/InfinitySportsNetwork. You guys are so positive about the show, 99% of the time. It is a universal skepticism that Perloff's not going to do this, and he's not going to drive to San Antonio because he lost a bet that Wembenyama would not win Rookie of the Year, and he's got to go to San Antonio and apologize. What have we earned? What have we done to earn your skepticism in this way? We eat weird stuff. We dress in ridiculous ways. We sing stupid things. I wore a duck suit for months. We pay off our bets we do. There might be one straggler out here or there. Some things got a little lost when we moved from the afternoon to the morning.
Patella tendon gets torn.
I mean, EJ's knee. The first week we did the morning show, Perloff was eating Skyline chili with no hands. We pay off our bets around here. I ate tuna fish jelly. I've eaten a jar of jelly. I started it with my hands. Perloff ate 1.5 jars of peanut butter. Like, why have the skepticism now?
No, I mean, and he's never wavered from this.
No.
The only questions have been like the path and the company that he's going to keep or not keep on the trip. But the dude wants to drive to Texas.
It's not for lack of wanting. We're just figuring out the logistics. Like, we've done it all. We've lied to management. We've skirted management. We've defied management openly. Like, we've done... I feel like we've proven ourselves in this area.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It might not happen the time you want it to because of different reasons, but it's going to happen.
I mean, we're in countdown mode. Pretty much. Bogusch, this has been great. Thank you so much for sliding over and filling in all week long. It's awesome. Thank you to Pete Bellotti. Thank you to EJ Stewart, manning things from the home office. So crucial. Thank you to Pat Boyle and to Andrew Kaplan. We want you to get better soon. And to all the weirdos and the coffee drinkers, we love you. Have a good weekend.
This is Bill Sims.